Adrian N. Breitfelder, City Clerk, you are hereby directed to call a regular session of the City Council to be held on Monday, September 15th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. in the historic Federal Building for the purpose of conducting such business that may properly come before the City Council.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to a regular session of the Dubuque City Council for September 15th, 2025. As a reminder to our participants, you can provide in-person input or virtual audio and written input during the sections of the agenda where public input is accepted. Input options during the live meeting include: in-person attendees may approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any public input on the item they would like to speak to. Remote attendees can log in to GoToMeeting using the login links, phone numbers, and access code that appear on the broadcast and live stream and posted on the front page of the meeting agenda. This option includes audio input and written chat input. If you are participating via computer, indicate which item you would like to speak to in the chat function, or note that you would like to speak during the appropriate section. If you are participating via phone, indicate which item you would like to speak to during the appropriate section. All comments, whether in person or virtual, must be accompanied by a name and address. Additionally, written public input is accepted by contacting the City Council directly from the city's webpage at www.cityofdubuque.org/councilcontacts and through the City Clerk's office email at ctyclerk@cityofdubuque.org. This information will be reiterated during the meeting. Attendance for the session is as follows: Mayor Kavanaugh.
Here.
Council members Farber.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Resnick.
Here.
Roussel.
Here.
Sprank.
Here.
Wethel.
Here.
City Manager Van Milligan.
Here.
And City Attorney Brumwell.
Here.
Thank you, Mayor Kavanaugh. I will turn it over to you for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Great. I invite all who are able to please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our presentation this evening is Barry Lindahl, Savvy Over 60 Award Recognition.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, Crenna Brumwell, City Attorney's Office. While I do intend to present Barry his Savvy Over 60 Award this evening, I am going to go a bit off script, which I'm guessing he has surmised at this point in time.
Oh, he definitely has, Crenna. He's staring me down up here. Yep.
And I feel the darts through my back because this is neither of our favorite place to be, which is the center of attention. But that being said, we have something to celebrate, and that is 50 years of public service by Barry Lindahl to the city of Dubuque. And that was just celebrated on August 1st of this year. And I just want to take a few moments to honor that public service and all that Barry has done for us as a community. So that being said, I have gathered some memories, some quotes, some stories, and some tidbits to share with you all to celebrate this evening. So, to start, we have a few photos from earlier years. You can see Bill Bloom and Barry on the picture on the left, and on the right you see former Mayor Roy Buell. You actually see Mike there in the forefront, and Barry off to the side when council meetings were still held in the library auditorium. First tidbit is from Les Reddick, indicating that having practiced law with Barry for most of his 50 years with the city, his memories are boundless. The first jury case that Les tried as a young lawyer in 1978 was a sidewalk fall-down suit in Dubuque County. He represented the property owner and Barry represented the city. So Barry was at Les's first trial ever. He says he learned from him as a young lawyer how to act in front of a jury, how to interact with the court, and in a word, it was professionally. And he strived to follow Barry's example for decades after that. He indicates that Barry represents the best the legal profession has to offer, both in terms of integrity and legal knowledge, and we are rightfully acknowledging those qualities as we are here this evening. A few more pictures just over the years that the communications office was able to help me with. Todd Stevenson, who works at Kane Norby Reddick as well with Les and works with the city regularly. Barry taught his trial advocacy course, and he told him to interview with Les and come work in Dubuque. And obviously that worked out very well for Todd and for us as a city. Some fun shots over the years, conferences, office shenanigans, etc. Brian Kane talks about what an amazing milestone 50 years is, but it's not due just to the passage of time, but it's what Barry has accomplished for the city and the bar that he has set at such a high level, all while being competent and ethical, and that it's been a privilege for Brian to practice with him for his mere 43 years of law practice. The countless development agreements and projects and a way that they have found to get things done was rewarding, whether those were big or small things, and particularly the riverfront development. Again, Brian was in Barry's trial advocacy course at the University of Iowa, and he was a big influence for Brian on the effective way to argue cases and represent clients. This is a staff picture from when I was relatively new, and Jenny we were new, both of us, to the city attorney's office. Bill Noth was our bond counsel for years and years prior to his retirement. He worked at Allers & Cooney in Des Moines. And what he indicated was that Barry had a good sense for risk management, and that's a sense that not everyone does. He worked with Barry on a whole host of projects and understood the city's needs and priorities, the pros and cons, and the industry and the business that was involved, and the idea of mitigating or reducing risks and having optimism as part of the process. And what he has said is that success has many fathers, but the city has always had great management. But in his book, Barry is clearly one of those fathers. It was always a pleasure to work with him. I had to follow the bond lawyer with this quote. This was a part of a budget presentation that we had planned years and years ago, and I believe this was 008, if I remember correctly, and our bond-themed budget presentation. Mary Rose chimed in, of course, that we affectionately refer to Barry sometimes as Mr. Polo, because he is, in fact, the best-dressed city employee and also has the cleanest desk of anyone. It's amazing. This was when the office was Barry and all of us ladies, and so we always kind of affectionately referred to ourselves as Barry's Angels, roughly, circa 2014. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike to cover a few slides here.
Oh, thanks. Krenna's given me an opportunity to read a message that I provided to Barry when Krenna nominated Barry for the Savvy Over 60 Award. And so I said, and Krenna asked me for some input on the award. So I said, Krenna, by the way, or Barry, Krenna, by the way, part of your legacy is hiring Krenna, giving the city council the opportunity to promote her. Nominated you for the Savvy Over 60, and the Telegraph Herald asked her for some questions that I had the privilege to say how I would answer those questions. Always your friend and admirer, and now these are the answers to the questions. So the Telegraph Herald asked, what is the most profound outcome of Barry's efforts? And I wrote, it is commonly known that Dubuque can credit its success to planning, partnerships, and people. The saying is, and I quote, good fences make good neighbors, close quotes. The same goes for partnerships. Good agreements lead to lasting, sustainable, and successful partnerships. Barry has negotiated and written those agreements that are the foundation of the success of Dubuque, from development agreements with businesses to intergovernmental agreements with Dubuque County, the state of Iowa, and the federal government, to agreements with local groups like the DRA, the Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque, the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, Main Street, Crescent Community Health Center, and Travel Dubuque, to the agreements with contractors that have built all the major projects in Dubuque, and so much more. All that time, Barry has been the trusted advisor helping the mayor and city council and the city manager navigate troubled waters that are bound to be experienced in any large and diverse corporation. Then the next question was, what is the most profound outcome? None of the accomplishments of the city of Dubuque rising from the ashes of the 1980s and becoming a growing and thriving community, the masterpiece on the Mississippi, would have been possible without Barry's calm and steady hand helping to lead the way, always in the background and never in the forefront, never seeking credit, just being satisfied to facilitate the outcomes and enjoying the accolades heaped on others. Next question. Remember, it was the Savvy Over 60 Award. What makes him savvy? Barry has an innate instinct when it comes to people. For the city of Dubuque, Barry has negotiated all the most difficult agreements and negotiated very challenging and complex legal settlements. Yet you will not find one person that has a bad thing to say about Barry. Everyone who has known and worked with Barry respects him and recognizes his skill to get to yes, to create a fair and balanced result. This is why he has been recognized by his peers over the years, been asked to instruct for years at the University of Iowa Law School, to present at national conferences, and have been appointed to the State of Iowa Public Information Board, and so much more.
This is just a few snips from another, this was a silent budget film that we did many, many years ago. And this was Mike's last bit for Barry.
And then the final question from the Telegraph Herald was, what catchphrase or quote would you associate with Barry? And my quote is, the quiet architect of Dubuque's success. Thanks, Barry.
So as we keep going, there are just some pictures over the years. This is from a continuing education conference that we were at for the International Municipal Lawyers Association. Gus, who's that masked city attorney inspecting the Southwest Arterial before it opened during COVID. It's our superhero attorney, Barry Lindahl. Gus did say that he thinks he technically has more time at the city if you count his 3 summers as an intern. And then also suggested that everything he wanted to say was confidential and could be used against him in a court of law, so maybe it shouldn't be shared. More pictures across the years, different conferences, gatherings, etc. I wanted to draw attention to the letter to the editor that was in the Telegraph Herald on August 1st of this year that was drafted by 2 long-term Dubuque attorneys, John O'Connor and Brendan Kwan, related to Barry and his service. So this I am going to read in its entirety, if you don't mind. Today, on August 1st, Barry Lindahl will be celebrating 50 years as a Dubuque City attorney. Barry was recently recognized by the Telegraph Herald as a Savvy Over 60 Award winner. He is much more than that. Barry has been a consummate attorney for the City of Dubuque and the City Council. As the attorney for the City and City Council, he has avoided the politics of city government and has provided unbiased legal advice throughout his 50 years. We have had the privilege of dealing with Barry throughout our legal careers. Barry was always professional, courteous, responsive, and protective of the city. He has always acted in the best interest of the city in all matters. Barry retains the passion, desire, and willingness to continue to protect the city of Dubuque. As citizens of Dubuque, we are fortunate to have been recipient of his legal skills. If you see Barry, thank him for his service. So a few more pictures over the years included in here. And then we flip to Rick Dickinson, who describes not really knowing why or when or how it began, but when he and Barry see one another on the street, in meetings across the room, they greet each other with a tap to the nose and a salute to one another. Whether you called it the Sting tap from the movie, for the 2 of them, it's a hello, we're in this together, and most importantly, a salute to the Dean of City Attorneys and a dear friend. These are just some of the boards, committees, publications, and awards that I could think of relatively quickly to include this evening, whether that's a faculty member at the University of Iowa College of Law, the Iowa Supreme Court advisory committees on civil procedure or the federal rules of evidence, author of a number of practice volumes related to civil practice, participation in the Iowa Public Information Board, as Mike referenced. Barry received the International Municipal Lawyers Association James H. Epps III Award for Longevity of Service to a Community in 2014. He has been a 50-year member of the Iowa State Bar Association as of 2023, and he was noted as one of 150 law graduates of note on the 150th anniversary of the University of Iowa College of Law, and of course was the recipient most recently of the Savvy Over 60 Award from the Telegraph Herald. This I just put in because it is true when you think of those of us who prefer to work in the background. We prefer to be there, but we go to work every day and we do the job that we do because we value it and public service, and it is important. And with that, I believe we're going to cut to the Savvy Over 60 videos.
I'm laughing because do you know what my first response to this was? Like, what catchphrase or quote would you associate with Barry? Do you mean beyond his Ralph Lauren suits? He's an impeccable dresser. Like, it's hysterical. We joke about him being the best dressed person in the community. He's just very dapper. His history and the ability to remember things. A few years ago, I walked in his office and I said, okay, I am facing this particular situation. Have you ever come across this? And he looked at me and he said, oh, you remember, that was the XYZ case probably a couple years ago. It said precisely what I needed and what I was looking for, but it wasn't from 10 years ago. It was from when I was 10 years old. People, partnerships, and planning, those are really important pillars. But what's kind of lurking in the background in all of that is like kind of Barry as the quiet architect. None of us want to be in the spotlight or getting the attention, hence the reason why we were all like, oh, we didn't know we had to be on camera for this. Because it's not our favorite place to be, right? We kind of like to be in the background, kind of a cog in something bigger. Good agreements make good partners and good paths forward. We do our due diligence and we do our job right, like he does on the front end. Good contract, a good agreement, a good lease. It navigates any bumps in the road for us 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, 15 years down the road. He has sat around tables just like this for almost 5 decades, brokering leases and development agreements and partnerships with organizations in the community that have literally transformed the landscape of our community. Developers, city staffers, state or federal government, they all bring something to the table. And what Barry does quietly in the background is to put all of those pieces together in a way that moves a project forward. His background as a professor allows him to ask people the questions that elicit the information that maybe they have not thought of. The passion or the energy in the room might make it appear that people are in conflict. He points out that they want the same thing, want to get to the same endpoint. He literally writes the book on civil procedure. Like, there are books all over the place that have his name on them. There are a lot of cases where Dubuque has made the law over the course of the years. Barry's name, it's on those cases, and he has made law that everyone across the state relies on, and that's a heck of a legacy to leave.
I just noticed my award says Savvy way over 60. Anyway, thank you, Mike, Amy, Terry, Karenna. I'll get back at you someday for this. And the TH, thank you for this opportunity. You know, it's really given me a chance to kind of reflect over what I've been doing the last few years. So if you'll give me a couple of minutes to share some of my thoughts with you. My family moved to Dubuque in 1961 from Waukegan, Illinois. I was a sophomore in high school. And of course, it was beyond my wildest dreams that I would be a city attorney for the city of Dubuque for 50 years. But here we are in the blink of an eye almost. August 1st, it will be my 50-year anniversary with the city of Dubuque. And what that means is 3 city managers, 12 mayors, 41 city council members, and over 800 regular city council meetings. So Some people would say that's savvy. Other people would say that's just absolutely crazy. So, how did I manage to do that? Well, one of the things is I got some advice from the city attorney who hired me back in 1975, Romolo Russo, who had also been a mayor and a city council member and then city attorney for over 20 years. He told me, he said, never confuse the day-to-day operation of government with the intrigue of politics. And I've tried to live by that for the last 50 years, and it's kept me out of trouble. And I always advise young city attorneys to follow that same advice. Focus on the day-to-day operation of the city and forget about all of those other things that may be going on around you. So beyond that, in addition to that, of course, is the tremendous support I've had for 50 years from all of the city managers, elected officials, department heads, city staff that I've worked with. They've all just provided tremendous support for me and encouragement. And of course, our own city attorney's office as well, my mom and dad and my wife Rhea and son Christopher. Chris has told me I should go for another 50 years, but probably not going to make it that far. So then I want to make a special thank you to Mike Van Milligan. Mike, can you believe it? We've been working together for over 30 years now. And I think we made a great team. I wouldn't be standing here today without all of the support you've given me over those 30 years. So I hope we can continue for a few more years anyway. So City of Dubuque is a very different place now than it was in 1975 when I first started working here. And I'd like to think that I contribute in some small part to where the city is today. City Attorney Russo, when he took me around that very first day and introduced me to some people, he said, I think he's going to be good for the city. And I hope that's my legacy someday. People will say, he was good for the city. He was good for the city. So thank you all very much.
And with that, I'm going to ask Barry to come up and I can present him his award. And then the mayor has one more thing.
Come on up, Barry.
Well, after all of that, I'm really at a loss for words. I really am. Other than to say again that I couldn't have done any of this without all of your support and everybody's support over the last 50 years. And I just thank you for that. I thank you for this event tonight. This is just very, very special. So thank you very much. And after all of that, I don't want to say much more.
Well, Barry, everybody said all the great things so far, and I have one more piece of the puzzle here, which I think you can kind of guess what that's going to be, but I'll just keep it simple. You've been good for the city of Dubuque, so thank you very much for everything that you've done, Barry.
That's
honestly.
what it's all about.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Well, we have a City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas Senior Counsel Barry A. Lindahl, having served the City of Dubuque with utmost dedication and commitment, reached a momentous 50 years of public service on August 1st, 2025. And whereas Barry began his public service with the city as an assistant city attorney in 1975. And whereas Barry served as assistant city attorney, and now senior counsel. And whereas in his capacity as city attorney, Barry argued many times in front of the Iowa Court of Appeals and Iowa Supreme Court on behalf of the city of Dubuque. And whereas in addition to his service to the city of Dubuque, Senior Counsel Barry Lindahl has been a member of the Iowa State Bar Association for over 50 years, the Dubuque County Bar Association, the International Municipal Lawyers Association, the Iowa Municipal Attorneys Association, the Iowa Public Information Board, was recognized as one of the 150 graduates of note on the 150th anniversary of the University of Iowa College of Law, and most recently was recognized as a recipient of the Telegraph Herald's Savvy Over 60 Award. And whereas the loyalty and dedication demonstrated by Barry A. Lindahl during his half-century of exemplary service stand as a testament to his unwavering commitment to the city of Dubuque and its residents, significantly contributing to the betterment of the community. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby recognize and commend Barry A. Lindahl for 50 years of service in the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and thank Barry for his remarkable commitment to our masterpiece on the Mississippi.
I would close with cheers to 50 years, and there's cupcakes if anybody wants one.
Everybody grab a cupcake now or on your way out. Feel free. No one's going to judge you if you go ahead and eat it right now. Well, thank you very much, Krenna, for arranging all of that. All right, meeting's over. Let's go. No? Please, Adrian, go for it.
We'll move on to proclamations. Our proclamation this evening is National C-Tracks Think Train Week.
All right, I believe we're joined by Josh Sabin this evening. Yes, please, Josh, come on up. If you have anything to say before the proclamation is read, feel free. And thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. Really appreciate. I'm Josh Sabin. Thank you, Mayor, for the kind invitation. Thank you for the partnership over the years. I'm sure Barry has oodles of railroad stories that would be interesting to hear. But congratulations, Barry. But no, in seriousness, safety is a top commitment, top priority for the railroad, as you well know. But the partnership we have with the city is critical to how we do business. So we really appreciate us being good neighbors, and thanks for the support.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Josh, for being here and your entire team. It is an important partnership for every city along the river, but for the city of Dubuque in particular. So we really do appreciate that. And I sincerely, and we appreciate you bringing this forward every single year as a proclamation to remind everyone about the safety that is of the utmost importance when it comes to railroad safety. So thank you very much for being here to accept this proclamation. City of Dubuque proclamation. Whereas C-Tracks Think Train Week is to be held across the U.S. from September 15th to the 21st, 2025. And whereas 2,252 rail grade crossing collisions resulted in 749 personal injuries and were responsible for 268 fatalities in the United States during 2024. And whereas 1,465 pedestrian trespassing casualties have occurred in the United States, resulting in 821 pedestrians being killed and another 644 injured while trespassing on railroad property rights of way during 2024. And whereas educating and informing the public about rail safety by reminding the public that railroad right-of-ways are private property, enhancing public awareness of the dangers associated with highway rail grade crossings, ensuring pedestrians and motorists are looking and listening while near railways, and obeying established traffic laws will reduce the number of avoidable fatalities and injuries caused by incidents involving trains and residents. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police, National Operation Lifesaver Incorporated, United States Department of Transportation, and all local, state, county, and railroad law enforcement officers, first responders, and railroad corporations commit to partnering together in an effort to educate at a national level all aspects of railroad safety, to enforce applicable laws in support of National C-Tracks Think Train Week. Now, therefore, I, Brad M. Kavanaugh, Mayor of the City of Dubuque, Iowa, on behalf of the City Council staff and residents of Dubuque, do hereby proclaim the week of September 15th through 2025 as National C-Tracks Think Train Week in the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and encourage all residents to recognize the importance of rail safety education.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
Yeah, absolutely. Come on up. Thank you. Thanks for being here. Yeah, let's give him a hand, everybody.
We'll now move on to consent items. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the consent items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Please state the item you would like removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and consideration, and consent items can be found on pages 2 through 6 of the agenda.
Thank you, Adrian. Do we have anyone here in chambers who would like to remove any of the consent items for separate discussion this evening? Seeing no one here, do we have anyone virtually?
Nope.
Okay, thank you both. All right, back to the table then.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
could we pull number 10, please?
Okay. Ms. Farber, did I see you?
Yes, number 18, please.
Okay. 10,
Mr. Mayor,
number 18. Yes.
yes, I move to receive and file the documents, adopt the resolutions, and deal with the consent items as recommended, except for number 10 and number 18.
Second.
Got a motion by Resnick, second by Roussel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. All right, first up is number 10. Let's get a motion, please. Get it on the table. Mr. Jones.
I move that we deal with number 10 as recommended.
Second?
Okay, we've got a motion here by Jones to receive and file that item, second by Resnick. Mr. Jones.
All right, the reason I pulled this is it's just a unique situation. One of our employees, Todd Irwin, has designed and built, with the cooperation and help of a couple of local companies, a cabinet that houses wastewater management equipment. And what this agenda item is about is our approval of the city of Dubuque applying for the patent for that piece of equipment. And that's something so far out of the norm that we deal with here at the city council table. I just thought it was worthy of mention. Way to go, Todd. Way to bring the city forward, way to bring your profession forward, and just way to go. So with that, I move approval.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Jones. Okay, seeing no further discussion on that, a motion here is to receive and file. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh. Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel. Wethel. Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. Next is number 18. Entertain a motion there, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we receive and file and approve.
Second?
Motion by Farber and second by Resnick. Ms. Farber, please.
Yeah, so tonight we had a conversation about our city attorney's office and the fact that they like to focus on the day-to-day operations of the city and are pretty much kind of behind the scenes. And I know that the team has asked to be restructured for a number of specific reasons, and I thought perhaps, Krenna, we would all like to learn a little bit more about that in honor of all the service that has been discussed tonight about the city attorney's office.
You bet, I would be happy to.
Thank you.
So we have been talking about our structure for a period of time and the idea that succession planning is important and what that would look like. So as you may recall, the last 2 budget cycles, we have requested the addition of an attorney so that we could add to our depth chart and our succession planning. Budgets being what they were, we knew that that was going to be a tough ask. But when there were some changes in state law this year, we have a civilian position that doesn't have a law license or does not work in support of the attorneys in the office. A change in state law necessitated that everyone in the office was a lawyer or support staff, so that position had to be eliminated. So as part of this process, what we are requesting is to restructure in such a way that we add another attorney. Now, we do that within the umbrella of the budget dollars that we already have, that you have allocated to us. So we go from 5.62 employees, and we stay at 5.62 employees. It's just that we would have 3 full-time attorneys and Barry serving in his senior counsel part-time role, and then our 2 administrative support professionals.
Well, thank you very much for educating us on the depth of the bench.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anything further? Okay, motion here is to receive and file and approve. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh. Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
The motion passes 7-0.
Next are items set for public hearing. We have 4. First is resolution setting public hearing to adopt a Lake Ridge Urban Revitalization Plan for October 6, 2025. Second is resolution setting a public hearing on a proposed development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and Outfly Development, LLC, providing for the sale of city-owned real estate to Outfly Development, LLC, and the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement for October 6, 2025. Third is initiate public bidding process and setting date for a public hearing for the 2025 Water and Resource Recovery Center MCC Communications and PLC Upgrades Project for October 6, 2025. And fourth is proceedings to set public hearing on October 6, 2025 for the issuance of not to exceed $2,330,000 water revenue capital loan notes, State Revolving Loan Fund Program, North English Road Water Main for October 6th, 2025.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell.
I move to receive and file, adopt the resolutions, and set the public hearings for October 6th.
Second by Sprague.
Got a motion by Russell, a second by Sprank. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Next are boards and commissions. We have application review for the Airport Commission and Investment and Cash Management Oversight Advisory Commission and appointment to the Airport Commission.
All right, thank you, Adrian. So first up, we have the Airport Commission. We have one 4-year term through September 14th, 2029, and one applicant, Ron Vaughn. Do we have anyone here to speak to that application this evening? Seeing no one here. Anything virtually? Okay, all right. Then we'll move on to the Investment and Cash Management Oversight Advisory Commission. We have one 3-year term through July 1st, 2028, and one applicant, Daniel Scott. Do we have anyone here to speak to that application? Please, come on up. Just a reminder for the record, name and address, so we have that. So thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Daniel Scott. I reside at 2435 Kaufman, Dubuque, Iowa. Appreciate you all allowing me to speak to you all this evening, and I feel like the appointment that I'm requesting is really only complimentary to all of tonight's stewardship that's been expressed through Crenna and, Barry's exemplary service for the city. But I've just compiled just a small introduction speech, and I'll conclude. But good evening. My name is Daniel Scott. I want to thank you guys for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm here tonight to express my interest in serving on the Investment and Cash Management Oversight Advisory Commission. Over the past decade, I've built my career in sales and marketing leadership with experience in contract review, financial analysis, and collaboration alongside finance, legal, accounting, and executive teams. Beyond my professional work, I've also served as a treasurer and fundraising director for Soldiers for Wildlife, helping grow the nonprofit from $50 in donations to over $500,000 with a focus on transparency and sustainable growth. And I've been fortunate to work in diverse environments with collaboration and clear communication, where there was an essential priority to achieving shared goals. So as someone starting a family here in Dubuque, I'm deeply committed to this community and believe this commission is a way I can contribute meaningfully to its financial stewardship and long-term success. And I conclude my time.
All right, well, thank you very much, Daniel, for your comments. Anyone else to speak to this application? Nothing virtually? All right. Okay, then we can move on to the boards and commission appointments. So we have tonight an appointment to the Airport Commission. We have one 4-year term through September 14th, 2029, and one applicant, Mary Ann Kurtz-Weber. Since we have one applicant, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Johnson, move that Mary Ann Kurtz-Weber be appointed to the Airport Commission.
Second by Farber.
Motion by Jones, second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel. Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0. Mary Ann Kurtz-Weber is appointed to the Airport Commission through 2029.
We'll now move on to public hearings. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting in person who would like to discuss one of the public hearing items, please approach the podium when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input for the public hearing you would like to speak to, and state your name and address. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function and state your question, or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input for the public hearing you would like to speak to. If more than one participant would like to speak, Then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Public hearing number 1 is request to conditionally rezone property at West 32nd Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the communications and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Wethel.
Got a motion by Jones, second by Wethel. Wally, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. Wally Wernmott, Planning Services Director. The request before you tonight is to rezone a portion of the property from R1 Single Family Residential to ORC Office Residential with conditions, and that property is located on West 32nd Street. We do have the parcel ID number up there. This is a location map, the vicinity map that kind of shows the property in question. As you can see, West 32nd Street to the south, there is the Northwest Arterial Bike Hike Trail system that goes along to the west and north of the property, and then we have the Northwest Arterial to the north. This is a notification map that we provided. We do notify all property owners within 200 feet of the area to be rezoned. All the areas shaded in yellow did receive a notice from our office with regards to the public hearing. This did come before the City Council previously, and they asked to remand it back to the Zoning Advisory Commission. We did re-notify all the property owners with the request to rezone it to OR with conditions. And in addition to that, as we mentioned, I just kind of went through some of these topics that have been identified on there, but at that Zoning Advisory Commission meeting on September 3rd, the Zoning Advisory Commission voted by 4-0 to 1 in favor of the request, and that one is an abstention. As I mentioned, with the project site, it is located on 32nd Street. It is a little bit over a half acre, 23,000 square feet. 32nd Street is just south of the Northwest Arterial. It is an undeveloped and vacant site. And in your packet, you've seen several letters from the property owner and the realtors that are looking at selling the property, in addition to some letters from the adjoining property owners. Just to kind of show you the difference between R1 and OR with C permitted uses. The items highlighted on the left, or the items on the left, is what's currently permitted in the R1 zoning district. What's being proposed is the 2 uses that are located on the right. General office is highlighted in yellow, and then single family dwelling within an existing structure only. At the public hearing, the applicant, along with their engineer of record, helped provided a couple examples of concepts or options that are being proposed at the location. This shows the site being subdivided into 2 lots, which is permitted by right. Doesn't require city council approval or any other board or approval. So the property could be subdivided to 2 lots. And then they discussed the new Iowa law with regards to accessory dwelling units, which we are preempted from with that. And that new Iowa law involves with accessory structures, which properties in an R1 basically could have an accessory dwelling unit permitted by right. It could be up to 1,000 square feet or 50% of the floor print of the existing facility or the building that's being proposed, and they do not need to provide any additional off-street parking associated with that. That is a law that passed, is in effect on July 1st. This is a proposal that they just showed an example of a single-family home with accessory dwelling units. And there's another one where they just show 2 smaller accessory, single-family home and accessory dwelling unit on the lot to the right. So effectively, with that state law, it's really kind of pretty much allowed duplexes. However, basically, they're single-family homes with accessory dwelling units associated with them. This is a site exhibit that was provided to the Zoning Advisory Commission that shows the layout of the 1-story office, and then showing that they're looking at providing the parking between the building and the Northwest Arterial to the north. That's represented to the Zoning Advisory Commission. They had some discussions with regards to that. There was public input that was provided in with regards to the OR with conditions request. In your packet, you'll see there's 2 letters of support for the site layout, option A, from Christina and Ronald Turnus. They were both in opposition to the previous request to straight OR. And then also a letter of support for the site layout with option A, general office with Joan and Ronald Heitzman. They did still discuss with regards to, potential for spot zoning and some other items with regards to it, but when reviewing the information that's provided to them, they both said that, they would be okay with the proposed options as provided. State law allows conditions to be placed on rezonings. However, provided that they are agreed to in writing prior to the public hearing, this public hearing tonight. So we prepare a memorandum of agreement. Those conditions are placed in that memorandum of agreement, and it's actually signed by the property owner. So the property owner did receive this memorandum of agreement. It is signed. It's included in the official record for that. So they have already agreed to these conditions, and that is the condition that the principal permitted uses shall be limited to the following: general office and single-family residential within an existing structure only. So with that, the Zoning Advisory Commission provided a recommendation by a vote of 4-0 with 1 abstention. The commission recommends the City Council approve the request with conditions, and a simple majority vote is needed for the City Council to approve the rezoning. Additional information that I would just like to bring up, because I know Mr. Resnick brought the question about with regard to signage to the property, which might be a topic of discussion tonight. So in an OR zoning district, that site would be allowed 1 freestanding sign up to 40 square feet and a maximum height of 10 feet. And they'd be allowed 1 wall-mounted sign, 16 square feet in area. So they basically allow 2 signs, 1 wall-mounted, 16 square feet, 1 freestanding, 10 feet in height, 40 square feet. Off-premise billboards would not be permitted to be allowed in that zone at that location. That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
All right, thanks, Wally. We are in a public hearing to consider a request from Sherry Ehrlich to rezone property at West 32nd Street from R1 Single Family Residential to ORC Office Residential with conditions. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item this evening? Seeing no one here. Anyone virtually?
Nope.
No? All right. Last call. Back to us for discussion then.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
this is a real good example of how you'd like to see government work. The applicants went down the trail, got here, found significant opposition at both the Zoning Advisory Commission and in this room. We remanded it back to the ZAC after the applicant indicated a willingness to downscale or further define the project, and it worked. We got back to the ZAC, we got the people who were here arguing against it were saying, don't love it, but I'm okay with it, basically. I don't love it, but I'm more than okay with it, and I'm ready to vote yes for it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Mr. Resnick.
Thank you. So, Mr. Wordemont, could you talk to me about the signs again? You noted the 10-foot high pole and, maximum. Can the signs be lighted within or from without?
Yes, so they could have internally illuminated signs. Typically, when we had a conversation with the applicant, their proposal is to keep most of that between the building and the Northwest Arterial. Now, there's no condition placed on that, so that's not set in stone. That would have to be something that we have an understanding and agreement with. But yeah, internally illuminated sign would be allowed for that. Internally.
And so, well, you did mention earlier from the last time that you would go over that plan about how this is going to, but the signage is you can't talk about that as far as negotiation, where it's going to be placed. I'm just, again, the neighbors have been cooperative and so is the applicant, as Mr. Jones has talked about. I just hope that the sign is also, in agreement, so to speak, in this neighborhood. So what do we have, what can we do about that?
So they didn't discuss signage. It wasn't an item that they felt that needed to be discussed at the Zoning Advisory Commission. They didn't place any conditions on it. So currently, right now, they would just have to follow what the current requirements are. If there was a discussion and a condition were to be placed on it by the City Council tonight with regards to location and size and everything that's associated with it, we would have to table the request and then provide a memorandum of agreement. And they'd have to agree to those conditions in writing and come back before the City Council if that's something you wish to do so.
All right, well, thank you for the information. A couple other questions on procedure. And it says in our notes that it's 501, and you've noted a couple times in the vote that it's 401.
Yeah.
Which one is it?
That was an error. It's 401.
It is 401. Yeah. And the other thing is, I'm just wondering about the Zoning Advisory Commission guidelines about being in, abstention with the mixed feeling things. I mean, all of us up here have mixed feelings about many things, and we have to make tough choices. So is there, the Zoning Advisory Commission, you can abstain for any reason?
I'm going to defer to legal counsel.
So for purposes of conflict of interest, conflict would come into play if there was an actual financial interest in the project. So what I am most familiar with when we're talking about this body is architects or engineers or people who hold positions of that nature, where they serve as a volunteer member of the board or commission, but they're actually also hired out in the community to work on some of these projects. So when their own projects come before them, they abstain because they do in fact have an actual financial interest in the project at that point in time.
Sure, you mentioned financial interest, but the memo doesn't say anything about financial interest, just mixed feelings. And so I was just, again, wondering about whether maybe we should ask people to vote, take a tough vote. But obviously, if it's a financial issue, abstention is the way to go. I'm just wondering about the guidance given.
So just like when you guys are elected to office, you sit down with my office and we kind of go over multiple things that the Planning Services Department gets involved with, and also how we go through public hearings to provide some of that background information. All commission members that are elected or appointed, it's not elected, but appointed to the Zoning Advisory Commission, sit down in our office and we go over the laws with regards to when to abstain and when not to abstain. So it's a very situation where we have to talk about very financial. Do you have a direct impact? Can you be non-biased in your decision? Do you live in the neighborhood and everything like that? And if you have questions, you should contact our office, and then we can talk with the legal counsel to be able to have those determinations. So. So as you watch the meeting, the individual felt that they didn't have enough information that they felt that they could make a determination, so they decided to abstain. I don't believe there was a conflict of interest with a direct financial gain with regards to that. It did not impact the outcome of the determination. The vote was still 4-0 to 1 with regards to that, but that is something that staff will take back to the commission and have a discussion with regards to when to abstain and when not to abstain, and when are the grounds for abstaining from that. We'll have that as an items from commission when we talk to them at the next Zoning Advisory Commission.
Well, thank you for that information. And I did want to say, we just recently had a board and commissions celebration at the Eagle Point Park, and everybody up here really appreciates all that they go through for our citizens, our residents. And we know that there are some tough things to call, and so I appreciate their input, and I appreciate your answer. I'm sorry, I interrupted.
I was just going to add that from my office, from a guidance standpoint, if the question were presented whether someone had a financial conflict or not, we would work through that. Beyond there being a financial conflict, if there wasn't, the advice that we give is that as an appointed member of the body, there's an obligation to participate in the votes and the process. So that is the opinion we give when we are asked and there's no financial conflict.
Thank you for that. And finally, I'd like to double down on what Mr. Jones said. I appreciate the solution that everybody came to. Thank you for facilitating that, and everyone who worked on that situation. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Yeah, and I'll just add to that I do appreciate that everybody came to the table to come to a conclusion that really did work for everyone involved. I think it is a great example of the way things can really work. It's a good government example. It's a good neighbor example. I like everything about the way that this went, and I really do appreciate that the time was taken to be able to think it through and do it in a way that works for everybody more effectively. So thank you to everybody involved. All right, motion here is to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second.
Got a motion by Jones, second by Farber. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 2 is request to rezone property at the northwest corner of Keyway Drive and Keystone Drive.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the communications, and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Spring.
Motion by Jones, second by Sprank. Wally, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and City Council. The Zoning Advisory Commission has reviewed a request by Gregory Williams to rezone a quarter-acre vacant parcel at the northwest corner of Keystone Drive and Keyway Drive from R2 two-family residential to R3 moderate density multifamily residential. The applicant intends to construct a 4-unit apartment building on the site, which is currently vacant but was historically part of the Pooh's Corner daycare. The lot is located in an area with a mix of residential zoning and adjacent to the duplex. So the former Pooh daycare home, which was used as a daycare, is now a duplex. Single-family homes and a Dubuque community church. While the proposed zoning would allow up to 6 residential units, Mr. Williams is proposing 4 and intends to live in one of the units. The property is well served by existing public utilities and infrastructure. Traffic counts on Keystone and Keyway remain relatively low, and while some increase in vehicle trips is anticipated, the impact is expected to be minimal due to the small scale of the project. Staff confirmed that any future development would go through the site plan review process with the development review team to ensure compliance with city codes, environmental standards, and proper site access and landscaping. The comprehensive plan supports infill development, mixed housing options, and moderate density in developed areas. All those goals align with this rezoning request. Public input included concerns from nearby residents regarding aesthetics, traffic, parking, and potential impacts on property values. 2 of the members, both nearby homeowners, voiced opposition, citing fear that the fourplex may be out of character for the neighborhood and could create a maintenance and traffic issue. In response, Mr. Williams clarified he intends to reside in the building, maintain its responsibility, and address neighborhood concerns by considering screening, shrubs or fencing, and potentially removing visual obstructions like tree or existing fence. He emphasized the similarity of the proposed building to nearby multifamily units located on Keyway and expressed a commitment to maintaining the property. After reviewing the discussion, the Zoning Advisory Commission voted 5-1 to recommend approval of the rezoning. Commissioners noted that the proposed use is consistent with the other R3 properties and comprehensive plan goals. The majority of the commission agreed that the proposed development fits within the surrounding context and would provide needed housing without significantly disrupting the neighborhood character. A simple majority vote by council is required to approve the rezoning request. That's all I have, unless you guys have any questions.
All right, thanks, Wally. We are in a public hearing to consider a request from Gregory Williams to rezone property located at the northwest corner of Keystone Drive and Keyway Drive from R2 two-family residential to R3 moderate density multifamily residential. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item? Please.
Wally's pretty tall. Hi. Good evening, Mayor, council members, and neighbors. My name's Greg Williams. I live at 1650 Drexel Avenue. I recently acquired this parcel back in July for the northwest corner of Keystone and Keyway, and we're requesting to change it from R2 residential to R3 multifamily. This was part of the Pooh's Corner daycare location. The parcel was split between the building and the playground area, which has been vacant and unused for at least the last 10 years. My plan is to build a 2-story, 4-unit apartment building with off-street parking, of which I will be a tenant in one of the units. The building would be similar to the 4-unit apartments that are just up the street on Keyway between Hillcrest and Keymere. My brothers and sisters and I would walk by Pooh's Corner every day on our way to Kennedy School. I grew up on Keystone and lived on Keymere during high school. I even lived on Norland for a few years after college, so I'm very familiar with this neighborhood. I plan to live in this building on the lower level. Like many people in our community, I have found it difficult to find a home within my budget that has a 2-car garage and a single level layout. I'm trying to get out of climbing stairs as I get older. This project would allow me to create a home for myself while also adding quality housing for others. The building is designed to fit into the neighborhood. There are already about 15 other apartment buildings within a few blocks north of this property. The design I created includes a garage and off-street parking, which I'm considering putting solar panels on the garage roof and potentially a solar canopy over the parking area. I know neighbors have expressed concerns about the apartment building, and I'd like to thank those neighbors for sharing their concerns with me so we can address them. There was concerns about possible Section 8 housing and possible criminal activity, which is sometimes associated with those types of housing. I want to be clear that this is not intended to be low quality or absentee owner rental property. I'll be living there in the building myself, and I'm committed to maintain a high standard for both as a resident and as a neighbor. They had mentioned that traffic had been a concern. The city's planning department noted that the project would not add a significant amount of traffic to the current counts that go through that area. To improve the safety, I plan to prune some of the trees that are on the property, trim the lower branches so there's more visibility at street level, as well as after the house is built, take out the fence so there's more visibility along the street line. I would also be open to some city street signage that restricts parking close to the intersection so you can have improved visibility at that intersection. One owner was also concerned about the parking lot setup, which has the parking lot facing the north side, where the headlights may go across the creek and into his apartment tenants' windows. So we'll plan to build a wall or some type of barrier to block the headlights from shining over into their area. The lot has been undeveloped for several years since the daycare closed. By building here, we can turn it into a useful space, add attractive housing, and increase the tax base for the city. I respectfully ask the council to approve this rezoning request so I can move forward with the project, live in this neighborhood, and provide additional well-maintained housing that fits the needs of Dubuque's residents. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Well, thank you, Greg, for your comments. We'll see if there's any other public input, and then we'll see if we have any questions for you.
Okay.
Thank you. Any further input on this item? Seeing none here. Anything virtually?
No.
Okay. All right, back to us then for any discussion. Ms. Farber.
Yes, I do have a question, and I don't know if this is for Wally or for Mr. Williams. The duplex that you're putting together, how many units or what is the size? How many bedrooms will they accommodate?
Come up to.
It would actually be 2 floors with 2 apartments. So you'd have 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, 2 bedroom, 2 bath on all 4 apartments.
Okay. All right. Well, I just wanted to applaud your interest, by the way, in basically infilling and adding another housing unit to the city. And it's very important when individuals step up to do this. So with great appreciation. Thank you. And thanks for answering the question.
Any others?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I'd take you for a neighbor in 5 minutes. Wouldn't blink an eye at it. You don't have to get up. You just sound like a good neighbor. And it's a great project. I'm going to support it.
Thanks, Mr. Jones. Yeah, Ms. Rousseau.
Thanks. I would also like to state that I think it's a good use of an infill lot, which we always like to see. And I like all the efforts that you've made to address the neighbors' concerns. I think that really shows that you do want to be a good neighbor. And the fact that you've lived in this neighborhood much of your life shows that this is a place where you want to be. So I'm in support of this. It will be multifamily housing, similar to what there are other buildings in very close proximity. So it seems to be a good fit. So thank you.
Thank you. Oh, there's Ms. Wethel.
When we talk about prioritizing housing as a council, which we have done a great deal, a lot of folks think of it as the big places you see in the paper, the multiple levels and multiple buildings. This is a great example of community members building density. So I thank you so much for doing something that sounds like you're so passionate about personally, but also a great example to our other community members. Thank you.
Anything further? All right. Well, I think I too appreciate all the efforts that you're making to be able to address the neighbors' concerns. I mean, you're very specific in talking about that. As far as the zoning itself and being in keeping with the neighborhood, having gone to the same elementary school and high school, having walked this street many, many times in my life, and recognizing kind of what the neighborhood is, I think it is in keeping, actually. It really does fit with everything that's right there, and should be a good place to be able to have a new place for people to live, but then also just something that fits within the neighborhood. So I appreciate all the efforts to be able to do that. I do think it's an appropriate zoning, so I'm looking forward to voting for it. Okay. Motion here is to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick. Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
That motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Sprank.
Motion by Jones, second by Sprank. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 3 is request to rezone property at 1550 Elm Street and 411 East 15th Street.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move to receive and file, and further move that the requirement that a proposed ordinance be considered and voted on for passage at 2 council meetings prior to the meeting at which it is to be finally passed be suspended.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Wally, please.
Yes. The city of Dubuque has submitted a request to rezone 2 parcels located at 1550 Elm Street and 411 East 15th Street from HI Heavy Industrial to C4 Downtown Commercial. The subject properties, which total approximately 1.3 acres, are currently improved with vacant structures and were historically used for industrial purposes, including storage and scrapping. The proposed rezoning aims to allow future redevelopment consistent with the surrounding area. This change would align with the zoning with adjacent C4 properties to the north and support mixed use and commercial uses that are better suited for this downtown environment. The surrounding land uses include medical offices, residential neighborhood, and institutional offices. The comprehensive plan identifies the area for mixed-use development, promoting walkable, vibrant spaces where residents can live, work, and access services. The C4 zoning district supports these goals by allowing both commercial and residential uses. Rezoning would eliminate the allowance for intense industrial uses under the current HI zoning, creating a more compatible development pattern with the existing community character. From an infrastructure standpoint, the property is adequately served by existing utilities along Elm, 15th, and 16th Street. Elm Street is categorized as a minor arterial with traffic count of approximately 9,000 vehicles per day. While future development will increase traffic, any project on site would undergo a review by the city's development review team to assist and mitigate some of those impacts. The property has flat topography and strategically located between residential and commercial and institutional uses, and which make it well suited for adaptive reuse and revitalization under the C4 zoning. The Zoning Advisory Commission discussed the proposed rezoning at their September 3rd meeting. There were no public comments or objections. Commissioners confirmed that the rezoning applies to both parcels, acknowledged that no specific redevelopment plans have been submitted yet. The commission unanimously voted 6-0 to recommend approval of the rezoning request, and a simple majority vote is required for city council approval. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Wally. We are in a public hearing to consider a request from the city of Dubuque to rezone property located at 1550 Elm Street and 411 East 15th Street from HI Heavy Industrial to C4 Downtown Commercial zoning. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? Seeing no one here, anybody virtually? All right, thank you. Back to us then for discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I'm looking forward to approving this because this is taking kind of a blightful property that needs some attention and care, that it allows it to get moving on into something else. So I'm looking forward to approving it.
Thank you, Mr. Sprank. All right, seeing no further discussion, motion here is to receive and file and waive the 3 readings. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Roussel.
I move final consideration and passage of the ordinance.
Second by Wethel.
A motion by Roussel, second by Wethel. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber. Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 4 is approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa, and Adam Vogel Building LLC for the redevelopment of 1701 Central Avenue, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Ms. Russell?
I move to receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Sprang.
Motion by Russell, second by Sprank. Mike, please.
Thank you. Assistant Economic Development Director Ian Hatch is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and Adam Vogel Building LLC for the redevelopment of 1701 Central Avenue, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. Adam Vogel Building LLC is a subsidiary of 563 Properties LLC, a local architectural firm operating throughout the Greater Dubuque region. 563 Properties has designed and renovated both commercial as well as residential properties throughout the Greater Dubuque area. Adam Vogel Building LLC submitted an application for housing creation and the rehabilitation of the facade of 1701 Central Avenue. The property has been in decline for many years while experiencing persistent vandalism. The applicant is proposing a $1 million project that will stabilize the building, restore the facade and first floor commercial space, and bring 5 new quality rental units to the area. The project will be utilizing historic tax credits. The key elements of the development agreement include the following. Number 1, developer will make a capital investment of approximately $1 million to rehabilitate the property. Number 2, developer must create 5 residential rental units. Number 3, developer will receive 15 years of tax increment financing incentives in the form of semi-annual rebates. Tax increment financing incentives are estimated not to exceed $65,000. Number 4, city to award a downtown housing incentive grant in an amount of $50,000, which is $10,000 times 5 units. Number 5, city to award a downtown rehabilitation grant not to exceed $35,000. Number 6, city to provide a community catalyst building remediation grant funded by the Iowa Economic Development Authority not to exceed $100,000. Number 7, City of Dubuque will amend the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District Plan to accommodate the issuance of tax increment financing incentives. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and Adam Vogel Building LLC for the redevelopment of 1701 Central Avenue, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. Do we have anyone here in chambers to address us on this item? Seeing no one, anyone virtually?
No input.
Thank you. All right, back to us then for any discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
in the interest of saving some time, I'll just say that this and the next 2 agenda items address properties that are severely blighted and are going to get severely upgraded and made into very nice properties. It's part of our Central Avenue revitalization strategy. It's part of our North End strategy, and it's part of our improved housing strategy to approve all 3 of these. So I'll be voting for all 3 of these, but I'll only comment this once.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Anyone else? Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Thank you. So, Mr. Van Milligan, we have this run of words, urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot. So I'm just hoping that you could talk about this a little bit. I just see that the urban renewal talks about the area of town that we have this, urban renewal area, and the tax increment revenue is the benefit that they could get. And the grant obligations are, in order to get those benefits, you have to fulfill some types of obligations.
Yes, sir.
And is that correct, or is there a better way to let residents know what actually is happening here?
Sure. So generally, your description is completely accurate. So years ago, the mayor and city council designated parts of the downtown as an urban renewal district because of slum and blighting conditions. And when you do that, it allows the mayor and city council to provide incentives to developers and building owners to rehabilitate their buildings. And so, for example, in this case, when they rehabilitate this building, investing $1 million and creating 5 apartments, this agreement would rebate their property taxes for the incremental increase in their property taxes for 15 years. So the amount of property taxes that are paid on the building today and the property will continue to get paid and distributed to all the taxing bodies. But the incremental new value that they create, which would increase the property tax payments, they'll receive rebates on those for up to 15 years. So if they didn't do the project, those new taxes wouldn't be created. But since they are going to do it, it will create the new taxes. And of course, after the 15 years, then those taxes continue to get paid, but then they do get distributed from then on to all the taxing bodies. Even with the rebate on the improvements, the rebates of the property taxes on the improvements, they don't even receive a rebate of 100% on those. State law only does not allow the rebate of any taxes that were passed by referendum. So there's both the Northeast Iowa Community College and the Dubuque Community School District have what are called instructional support levies, where the citizens in the past have voted to say, hey, we want to raise our own taxes to give those districts more money. And so that's not captured. Those taxes still go to the taxing bodies. There also, I think, is a capital bond that was passed. I think it was NICC when they did a capital project. Same thing. Those taxes get distributed. They don't get given back or rebated, to the developer. So what a previous city council did when they created this urban renewal district to clear up slum and blight is they gave the power of future city councils to do development agreements with developers and property owners to get these properties renovated. In this case, the mayor and city council had designated Central Avenue as one of their priority areas for reinvestment and is having tremendous success with that designation. So we've had several buildings rehabilitated over the last couple of years, and we have several more that are going to be rehabilitated. So I would anticipate, kind of harkens back to, about 25 years ago when the mayor and city council made Lower Main a priority, and it had been designated an urban renewal district of slum and blight. So basically from 1st to 4th on Main Street. And that area was falling down buildings, vacant buildings, XXX Cinema, Gentleman's Bookstore, one tavern / restaurant, a falling down old hotel, and I'm not referencing Hotel Julian, so I don't want anybody to misinterpret what I said. That the falling down old hotel was at 3rd and Main. That building ended up getting demolished, and that's now where the Chamber of Commerce offices are, in a new building. So my point being is, the mayor and council back then, 25 years ago, made that a priority area, used incentives, it worked. Now we have a vibrant area down there. That's exactly what we're beginning to experience on Central Avenue, but these buildings are very expensive to rehabilitate. And so without incentives, it just doesn't make any economic sense for a developer or property owner to invest any money in the buildings.
Great, so it's a win for the developers and win for our residents as well.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm just going to piggyback on some of the comments that were made about housing earlier tonight, I believe by Ms. Wethel. Not only has this city council stepped forward to be able to provide incentives for housing, But developers have also partnered to be able to step up and do that work. But then this adds another layer right here. This is the work of Dubuque initiatives getting together and saying, we're going to focus on this area of town because we want Central Avenue to be revitalized. We want to see this work being done in the way that's been discussed, that's been asked for by residents, and that the city council put forward as a goal. So Dubuque Initiative steps forward and works with developers directly to be able to work on these really difficult properties like this one. This is a really difficult property. I know, being on the board of Dubuque Initiatives, we've talked about it for a long time. And to have the Adam Vogel LLC and the 563 Properties folks step up to be able to do this, work with Dubuque Initiatives, work with the rest of the community to get this done. This is a great use of a development agreement to be able to put housing forward in a really important place. This is right on, we mentioned earlier tonight in the work session how busy 17th Street is. This is that busy street right here. And it's a major thoroughfare, coming through to Central Avenue and heading east. So I'm very excited that we're seeing this much progress. I mean, this is a big step forward. So I'm really glad to be seeing this tonight and looking forward to voting for it. All right, motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 5 is approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and ASJS Properties LLC for the redevelopment of 1913 Jackson Street, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Sprank.
I motion that we receive and file and adopt the resolution.
Second by Farber.
Motion by Sprank, second by Farber. Mike, please.
Thank you. Assistant Economic Development Director Ian Hatch is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and ASJS Properties LLC for the redevelopment of 1913 Jackson Street, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. ASJS Properties LLC, as developer, intends to create 4 new residential rental units at 1913 Jackson Street. These units have been vacant for years, and the scope of work includes taking each unit down to the studs and rebuilding to attract new residential tenants. While there is a total of 9 apartments in the building, only 4 qualify for incentives due to occupancy. Key elements of the development agreement are as follows. Number 1, developer to make a capital investment of approximately $100,000 to create 4 new residential rental units. Number 2, city to award a downtown housing creation grant in the amount not to exceed $40,000, $10,000 per unit up to 4 units. Number 3, city to award a 15-year tax increment financing incentive in the form of semi-annual rebates. The tax increment financing incentive is estimated to not exceed $15,000. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and ASJS Properties LLC for the redevelopment of 1913 Jackson Street, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment grant obligations. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item? Seeing no one here, anyone virtually?
No.
Thank you. All right, back to us then. Seeing and hearing no discussion, remembering that there was discussion in the last item that probably related to this item. All right, motion here is to receive and file and adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Public hearing number 6 is approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and Dubuque Initiative 1700 LLC for the redevelopment of 1739 to 1763 Central Avenue, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations pursuant to the development agreement.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Jones, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Assistant Economic Development Director Ian Hatch is recommending City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque and Dubuque Initiatives 1700 LLC for the redevelopment of 1739 to 1763 Central Avenue, providing for the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. The key elements of the proposed development agreement include the following. Number 1, Developer owns both 1739 Central and 1763 Central, which are separate tax parcels. Number 2, developer to start construction of 7 housing units by October 1st, 2025, and complete by December 31st, 2026. Number 3, city to award housing creation grants up to $70,000. Number 4, city to award low-income housing assistance grants up to $70,000. Number 5, city to award downtown rehabilitation grant of up to $35,000 on 1739 Central Avenue. Number 6, city to award downtown rehabilitation grant of up to $25,000 on 1763 Central Avenue, as this address was a prior recipient of a $10,000 facade grant from this program. Number 7, city to award 15 years of tax increment financing grants on both parcels. Number 8, city will amend the Greater Downtown Urban Renewal District Plan to accommodate the issuance of tax increment financing incentives. The developer, Dubuque Initiative 1700 LLC, is a subsidiary of Dubuque Initiatives, which has been a key partner in the stabilization and revitalization of several buildings along the Central Corridor. Dubuque Initiatives, a sustainable nonprofit organization working as a community partner and catalyst to undertake challenging projects involving job creation and/or community revitalization, was incorporated in 1980 for the purpose of accepting federal grant funds in order to begin the build-out of what is today known as the Dubuque Industrial Center. The organization facilitated the preparation of land parcels to be sold to companies for construction of industrial facilities, attracting new businesses to the area, and providing space for existing businesses looking to expand their operations. As the work in the industrial park began to sustain itself in the 1990s, Dubuque Initiatives moved its focus to the downtown core, undertaking challenging economic development projects where funding was lacking, such as the redevelopment of several buildings in the lower Main Street area. Several large properties were redeveloped during the focus in the area, including the purchase and $40 million redevelopment of the Roshek building in 2009. With the sale of that building in 2019, Dubuque Initiatives once again had capital to invest and shifted its focus to the revitalization of the Central Avenue corridor in concert with the Dubuque City Council's prioritization of the area's redevelopment. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. We are in a public hearing to consider City Council adopt the attached resolution approving a development agreement by and between the City of Dubuque, Iowa and Dubuque Initiatives 1700 LLC for the redevelopment of 1739 and 63 Central Avenue, providing the issuance of urban renewal tax increment revenue grant obligations. Do we have anyone here to address us on this item? Seeing no one. Anyone virtually?
No input.
All right, back to us then for discussion. Hearing none? Seeing none? Discussion once again previously had in multiple items before. The motion here is to receive and file, adopt the resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
That motion passes 7-0.
Next is public input. At this time, anyone participating in the meeting may address the City Council on the action items on the agenda or on matters under the control of the City Council. For all in-person attendees, please approach the podium and state your name and address when the mayor asks if there is any in-person input. For all remote attendees, please enter your name and address in the chat function or state your name and address over the phone when the mayor asks if there is any virtual input. If more than one participant would like to speak, then city staff will determine the speaking order of the participants. Individual remarks are limited to 5 minutes, and the overall public input period is limited to 30 minutes. Under the Iowa Open Meetings Law, the City Council can take no formal action on comments given during public input or that do not relate to the action items on the agenda.
Thank you, Adrian. Do we have any public input this evening?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council leaders, members of the City of Dubuque staff. My name is Jason White, and I serve as Vice President of Business Services with Greater Dubuque Development Corporation. My living quarters is 224 4th Avenue Southeast in Dyersville. I've had the privilege of serving since early 2024 on the board of DBQ Air. That group has taken on the challenging but vital task of advocating for, supporting, and retaining commercial air service in our region, specifically at the Dubuque Regional Airport. We encourage your support this evening for the proposed action on the minimum revenue guarantee. Dubuque has long been a community that punches above its weight. We're home to a loyal business base, multi-generational and legacy-based companies, and a philanthropic spirit that rivals cities much larger than ours. We invest in cultural, educational, historical, and recreational assets, not just because they enrich our lives, but because they connect us. And connectivity is the key word. The networks we build, locally and globally, are essential, whether it's international students, business partners, developers, museum exhibitors, or visitors to the Field of Dreams. Access matters. Denver Air Connection provides that direct link to a major hub, strengthening our internal networks and helping us to avoid a comment we've heard too often: Dubuque is a difficult community to get to. I'm proud of the courage my colleagues have shown in advocating for this service. It's tempting to give up when the odds are tough. We've chosen a path of education, communication, and engagement because we know what's at stake. The numbers are improving, but not yet sustainable. That's why we focused on changing flying behavior. Thanks to Dubuque Initiatives for supporting the $100 voucher program, and to the Telegraph Herald and DRA for boosting the city's marketing efforts and also complementing those efforts. One more thought. Whether you choose to move forward with support tonight, and we sincerely hope you do, please remember that federal taxpayer dollars are already supporting 5 other commercial airports across Iowa, including some that compete directly with Dubuque. That's through the Essential Air Service program, which provides subsidies whether people fly out of those airports or not. There are no performance measures as key metrics for support. Dubuque isn't eligible, and federal legislators have indicated we likely won't be added. With one exception, the one-time SCADC award, which we greatly appreciated from our federal legislators, we've been left to compete on our own. The tri-state area population utilizing this service is our long-term ticket to success. With that said, if we lose commercial flights, our residents, businesses, and dollars, including our own federal tax dollars, will continue to support other airports while our own market will go without. As the greater Dubuque community, we've always stood up for ourselves when adversity strikes. Let's do that again. Thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration.
Thank you, Jason, for your comments. Any other public input this evening? We have anything virtually?
Molly Grover from the Chamber of Commerce is on the line.
All right, Molly, go ahead, please.
Molly, I can see you trying to unmute, but we can't hear you.
Molly, we're still waiting on you here. It's definitely not on our end, Corey, that we can tell? Okay.
Doesn't look like it.
We're pretty sure that we're good here, Molly, so we're waiting on you on your end.
Molly, a couple of options. You may want to try and call in on the phone number that you have, or if you do have the comments, you can put those in the chat. In the back, it looks like the folks that are on GoToMeeting can hear Molly, so it may be on our end. Give us
Maybe it is on our end, yeah, okay. Let's give Eric a moment to work on it just real quick. I appreciate everybody's patience. Let's see if we can get Molly in, the sound into here. Eric, do you have any updates for us on your end there? Not able to hear. Okay. While we work on that, let's move on. Is there anybody else virtually, Adrian?
Just some written input that has been received from Travel Dubuque, Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, Loras College, University of Dubuque, and Jim Prochaska of 2478 Beacon Hill Drive all submit written input for action item number 2 that's been uploaded with the agenda item.
Okay, thank you, Adrian. We can note that those items are there on the agenda. And then I know Mike has a separate issue, so Mike, I'll let you go ahead and go, and we'll see if we can get the sound figured out here.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to take this opportunity during public input to introduce our new Parks and Recreation Director. Matt Kalsovich is sitting in the back of the room there. There he is right there. Now he's not in the back of the room.
Please, Matt, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, Matt Kalsovich, Parks and Recreation Director here on my first day on the job. Very excited to be here and to get started on all of the park recreation initiatives and work with all of you. Appreciate it very much.
That's great. Well, Matt, thanks for being here on your first day. Yeah, thanks for sticking it out for the for the later meeting with us. So welcome to town. We appreciate having you here. Looking forward to talking more.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Mayor.
I'm sure the citizens would and the residents would like to hear a little bit about you, and thank you for coming and taking this challenging position. But could you tell us a little bit about yourselves so that our citizens, residents will know who you are?
Absolutely, happy to. So I'm a 24-year plus park and recreation professional, most recently working with the City of Omaha, born and raised in Orange County, California, but I've had an odyssey of personal and professional experience that has brought me to the Midwest. My wife is originally from the Midwest, so that's maybe the short version of the story, and we really love this entire area. She actually grew up here for a portion of time, and part of what attracted us, just going way back in our history, into a place where her family always spoke very positively, and so the opportunity presented itself, and we're just anxious to contribute and make an impact to the community. I know I've spoken with City Manager already about a lot of the in-motion initiatives and things that I am really, again, excited to get connected with and think that I'll be able to contribute to very significantly, and I know that'll involve working with all of you and many members of the city staff across almost all of the departments, so really looking forward to that opportunity, and thank you again for this chance to connect.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
I can
Resident.
tell you for all our musician council members, his son is a musician, right? Your oldest son?
I have two. I have a drummer and I have a violinist. So looking to get involved in those things here as well. And we know about the exciting, robust art scene here, especially on the music side. So yes, looking to enjoy all of that personally and professionally.
Excellent. Well, that's great to know. The all-drummer band is coming one of these days, so thank you very much.
Excellent.
All right. Yeah,
thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, I'm looking forward to the drummer-violin duets that are coming. and if we can't hear Ms. Grover, I do have her letter ready to read some of the very impactful things that she wrote in case we can't make that connection.
And I believe we've got it now. Okay, Eric, go ahead. Or Molly, are you there? I'm not sure we have it now. Let's do this. Let's move on, and we can do the first action item, and then we'll see how that one takes. But Molly, if you're able to hang with us for a few, we will get to the commercial air service item, and we'd be able to have some public input on that. I'll even ask for it before we read the city manager's memo to not keep Molly waiting too long, if that's all right. All right? And Corey, you're communicating? Okay, perfect. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Is there any other public input before we? So seeing none. Okay, then let's go ahead and go. Adrian, thank you.
Action item number 1 is notice of award and request to execute Reimagine Comiskey Park Phase 2 National Park Service Outdoor Recreation Legacy Grant.
Mr. Mayor. Mr. Spring.
I motion that we receive and file and approve.
Second.
Got a motion by Spring, second by Resnick. Mike, please.
Thank you. Interim Parks and Recreation Director Steve Faisal is providing information on the award of $1,980,698.75 Reimagine Comiskey Park Phase 2 National Park Service Outdoor Recreation Legacy Grant, and recommending City Council approve and execute the grant agreement. Reimagine Comiskey Phase 1 project included a new playground, splash pad, a basketball court, walkway additions, seating walls, park amenities like litter receptacles, bike racks, picnic tables, etc., one small and one larger shade picnic shelters, trees, landscaping, bioswale, native seating, and other improvements. June 29th, 2023, Reimagine Comiskey Park Phase 1 opened to the public. The Phase 1 project had a variety of funding sources. The City of Dubuque was awarded a $508,000 Land and Water Conservation Fund Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program grant from the National Park Service to expand outdoor recreational opportunities in the park. That grant was matched with the City of Dubuque capital improvement funding in the amount of $1,393,545 and Housing and Urban Development Community Development Block Grant funding in the amount of $429,480. The Wellmark Foundation awarded the project $100,000 as part of Wellmark's large match grant program, used toward the addition of a splash pad and expansion of basketball courts at the park, and a $25,000 America in Bloom Canadian National Eco Connections from the ground up grants for trees, natives, forbs, and grass, seed, shrubs, and flowers. The total project cost of Phase 1 was $2,456,025. During Phase 1 construction, staff began searching for grants to assist with Phase 2 funding. The Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership Program assisted in funding Phase 1. Prior to Round 7 funding, communities were not eligible to reapply for a second grant on the same property. The Round 7 Notice of Funding opportunity for the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership was changed to allow this, making it a grant that could be sought again. The City Council approved the Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership application for Reimagine Comiskey Phase 2 at their March 4th, 2024 City Council meeting. The Outdoor Recreation Legacy Partnership funding will support recreational improvements at Comiskey Park. Federal investment will support construction of 2 additional full-size basketball courts, development of new shaded picnic areas, replacement of an older basketball court, skate spot, and tennis court with a multi-use playing field, building trails throughout the park, establishment of a new park entryway, creation of a 53-stall parking lot, and additional landscaping, including trees and native plantings. Rehabilitation of Comiskey Park will complete the transformation of this well-loved and well-used public space. The proposed improvements are a result of the extensive Reimagine Comiskey community engagement process that involved input sessions, focus groups, community surveys, and a music-infused hip-hop architecture workshop designed for children ages 10 to 17. Key planning participants included local neighborhood associations, the Dubuque Community School District youth organizations, and nonprofit community partners. Key project milestones outlined in the grant include completion of final design, which is currently 98% complete, permits secured, which is currently 100% complete, final Iowa Department of Natural Resource clearances, which is currently 98% complete, and community development block grant approvals just beginning as starts at this stage of final design. Construction commences spring of 2026, with construction completion targeted for the fall of 2026. The total investment in Phase 1 and Phase 2 to complete the Reimagined Comiskey project is $6,417,422, with grants and community development block grant covering $3,320,029 of the total, or 52%. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any comments?
Just a few.
Mr. Sprank, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't be more appreciative of the staff for making this happen for the citizens of my neighborhood. This has been a long time coming. I know Phase 1 was amazing. That ribbon cutting was just ecstatic through the roof. Specifically want to thank Marie Ware and of course Steve Hazel. It's just with this Phase 2, it'll be wonderful to see it completed for the neighborhood for this very well used and loved playground. So I'm hoping we can continue this momentum when we go into goal setting, when we talk about other parks, particularly we know Eagle Point Park needs a lot of attention, and hopefully this has given us templates and ideas that we can find other sources of revenue and funding to pay to rehab that beautiful park as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sprank. Ms. Wethel.
I know that it took a lot for our staff to get to this point. The grant processes for Phase 1 and Phase 2 both are no cakewalk. So I want to applaud our staff, specifically in the, I don't know how many hours. I'm not even going to try and estimate. I also want to thank Councilmember Sprank for his advocacy for Comiskey Park, both for Phase 1 and Phase 2. Sir, you have been in our ear every chance you get to push this forward, and staff's ear. So I just want to salute you in your advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wethel. Any others? Well, this is incredibly exciting. I mean, 2026, it's literally next year. I mean, right around the corner, we actually get to see this finally taking shape. And it has, we have talked about this a lot. You're not kidding. Mr. Sprank has been advocating for this one from the moment I first met him, I believe. And it really has been something that we've heard about over and over again. The staff have done an incredible job. I remember multiple meetings in Washington, D.C. talking about this grant in particular, really trying to move this forward. So it is exciting to finally see this coming to life in this way. I'm very excited for the next ribbon cutting next year. It'll be a good time. Okay. Well, motion here is to receive and file and approve. So Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick. Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 2 is commercial air service minimum revenue guarantee.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
a little bit of a different motion. I'm going to move that we receive and file the documents, that we have a robust discussion, but that we continue the discussion and defer the decision to our October 6th meeting, which will put it after goal setting, where we'll be talking about all kinds of things, including priorities. And I presume, I don't speak for the 7 of you, I presume that air service will remain a high priority, but that we'll be reassuring ourselves before we make this commitment that that's the direction we want to go. It'll also give the public another week to comment to council and give us their input. That was awful long for a motion. But let me stop and see if we get a second.
I'll second that very long motion.
All right, so we have a motion by Jones and a second by Roussel. And my general understanding of this motion, Krenna and Adrian, you can correct me here, receive and file, have a council discussion, but then continue that discussion and defer a decision to the October 6th meeting date. Okay, fair enough.
What
All
the
right.
motion should have been.
All right, yeah, that's perfect. You explained it a little bit more than I did, but Mike, before you go, do we have Molly Grover? And this will, I think, be our last opportunity to give it a shot.
Molly, let's try one more time, and if not, I do have her comments that I can read.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, Molly, our sincere apologies that the technology is not working tonight. Usually it does, so we apologize for that. But thank you for sending things to Corey. So Corey, go ahead, please.
Absolutely. And Molly, I'm not going to do your energy justice, so forgive me. Molly Grover, CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, would like input that the Chamber asks the mayor and the city council support for tonight's request for a minimum revenue guarantee. From a Chamber perspective, air service is an economic absolute, and the business community agrees. A survey conducted by Dubuque Air indicates over 2/3 of the business community supported city and county financial support, and both businesses and residents alike said access to local air service would have a positive impact on the economy. Last but not least, we don't need to wonder what the loss of critical transportation infrastructure would look like. We know with the interstate system missing us in the 1950s, the downturn of the 1980s. The Chamber Board supported SCASD grants not once but 4 times in the past 29 years. Please protect our future economic prosperity. Thank you, Molly.
All right, thank you very much, Molly, for your comments. All right, Mike, I know you have a memo that you'd like to read.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As opposed to me reading my, whatever it is, 9-page memo, Todd Dalsing, the airport director, is here, and he has a presentation to make which encapsulates the information that's in my memo.
All right, thank you, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Todd Dalsing, Dubuque Airport. Give me a second to pull it up. Okay, so yeah, thanks, Mike. And this is an update for the commercial air service and the minimum revenue guarantee. I'm going to apologize in advance. It's very text heavy, but I wanted to make sure we didn't leave anything out of this presentation. So there will be a lot of reading going on as well. During annual goal setting in 22 through 24, commercial air service was identified as a top priority for the community. To achieve this priority, a minimum revenue guarantee is needed. A minimum revenue guarantee is an agreement whereby a municipality guarantees an airline a certain amount of revenue for new or expanded air service. MRGs ensure that air carrier receives a predetermined amount of revenue regardless of the actual ticket sales. This support is provided to encourage the carrier to start or maintain service with the duration of the MRG funds depending on factors like load factors, ticket revenues, and carrier expenses. By fostering new or expanded air service, MRGs help support local economies by supporting local business, leisure travelers, and attracting tourism and visitors, who then, of course, spend their money at hotels, restaurants, and attractions in and around the Dubuque area. Some background: prior to COVID pandemic, Dubuque offered 3 flights a day to Chicago O'Hare on American Airlines. In 2019, or pre-COVID, FAA employment reported 36,521 passengers flew from Dubuque to Chicago as their destination or a connection. During that same year, the U.S. DOT origination and destination report showed an average of 99 passengers flew from Dubuque to Chicago daily. And that information is obviously important because we're currently flying a 50-seat regional jet from Dubuque to Chicago. After the pandemic hit, American Airlines began flight reductions in late calendar year of 2020. In response to the pandemic impact on travel, air carriers received federal relief funding in an attempt to retain service to national markets. After that federal relief funding ran out, American Airlines announced they were suspending service to Dubuque starting back in September 7th of 22, citing a national pilot shortage. As a result of the loss of daily scheduled air service, Dubuque Air was formed. And the following bullet points are all current board members of Dubuque Air. Dubuque Air also applied for a refresher grant. So originally, we had $775,000 for a SCASD grant. That refresher grant brought it up to $1.5 million. And as you all know, a SCASD program is designed to help small communities address air service issues. SCASDs can involve revenue guarantees, financial assistance for marketing programs, startup costs, and studies. The strategic plan includes the restoration of nonstop daily scheduled service to a hub to improve regional connections as it's done here in Dubuque. Dubuque Air, working with Dubuque Air Service consultant Matt Skinner, who I also believe is on the line for questions later as needed, began meeting weekly to restore daily scheduled service. Several months of efforts and meetings with mainline and regional carriers resulted in an option to restore daily service with an afternoon flight to Chicago on Denver Air Connection utilizing ERJ 145, which is a 50-seat regional jet. Utilizing SCASD and the FAA Air Carrier Incentive Program, Denver Air began service on November 4th, 2024, featuring interline agreements with United and American, and now Delta, to hundreds of connections beyond to and beyond Chicago. That initial agreement ended April 30th of 25 with 6-month extensions and a 60-day clause to pause service. So we've overcome many challenges prior to the start of service and since the return of service in November of 24. As you know, we haven't had any commercial air service for 2 years. It's been a challenge to introduce a new service to the market and break the travel habits formed during the last 2 years of absence. Launching new service in November nationally, even though that was our only option, nationally, November through February are lower passenger travel months. Afternoon flight time. Again, although the afternoon flight time was the only option available to restore service at Dubuque, this challenge eventually led to Dubuque Air working with Denver Air and Chicago to adjust the flight schedule to an AM departure and a PM arrival, which started in May 16th of 25. Construction at O'Hare. Right after the announcement of air service, Chicago advised Denver Air they were doing construction in Terminal L. That impacted, of course, our jet bridge, our gate service, et cetera, and Denver Air's only option was remote aircraft parking and utilizing a bus to transport passengers to and from the Chicago terminal. Mayor Kavanaugh and Denver Air petitioned Chicago's gate director and ultimately restored operations and jet bridge service at gate G22. With those of you that are familiar with Chicago, O'Hare is directly in the middle of American and Chicago. We couldn't ask for a better gate. No other federal funding or state funding options are available. Dubuque Air, City of Dubuque, Dubuque County, and partners. We've been to DC now several years in a row, and we continue to advocate with federal and state legislators for options to be added to existing programs such as Essential Air Service, altering SCSI language, or starting a new program that would assist airports similar to Dubuque. Mainline air carriers, American, United, Delta, Southwest. Mayor Kavanaugh met with American and was told adding regional markets like Dubuque is not in their plans. They will continue to rely on regional carriers to supply passengers to mainline airports. Matt Skinner, again, our air service consultant, regularly meets with mainline carriers who convey the same message to this day. We're also competing with regional airports, Cedar Rapids, Madison, Moline. They're all competing for the same passengers and marketing their services in the Dubuque Regional Airport catchment area. I think it was in Molly's comments, she already touched on the surveys, but I'll just touch, I won't read this whole thing, but I'll touch on it. But as a reminder, in December 23, before we even started pursuing daily scheduled air service, a survey was part of a study to provide a detailed understanding of the want and need for commercial air service. There were 228 responses from employers. 28 of those were in-person interviews. And Molly already touched on the percentages there and the content. And then there was also more than 8,000 impressive responses from residents. And again, Molly touched on a lot of those in her comments. Recently, there was also a traveler study, July of 25, a survey targeted passengers flying out of Dubuque. And they clearly indicate that people who use the service have a positive experience. So as of September 4th, and I'd like to thank Randy Gale and his team for putting this together for us as well. Over 80 passengers have completed the survey. 85 rate their experience at the airport as excellent, 10 rated as good. 90% are very likely to recommend the airport to friends, family, or colleagues. 95% are very likely or somewhat likely to use the airport in the future, and 60% of those respondents were leisure travelers, 30% were business travelers, and 10% were a combination of the two. Population growth, I think Jason actually touched on this a little bit, but just to hit the high points again, 2024 census population estimate Dubuque County is approaching 100,000. Only 7 counties in the state of Iowa show a population increase of more than 900 people from 2020 to 24. Local commercial air service is needed in growing communities. And it also provides a conduit to the national and international students attending our higher educations in the tri-state area. And the bullets identify the higher education and the approximate student population. And that includes not only coming to school or going home, but also holidays and family and friends visiting as well that we've seen at the airport. Economic development, Jason hit on this one too. Just to reiterate, July 1st, 22, GDC reports that there have been over $805 million in new construction in Dubuque County with businesses creating approximately 1,000 jobs. The continuation of local commercial air service is important to major projects already in the works, such as the John and Alice Butler College of Medicine, of course, the Field of Dreams that was mentioned, expansion of the University of Dubuque Aviation Pilot Program, and all the listed new and expanded amenities and attractions. Air service is imperative to keep this momentum moving forward, and it is expected service in a growing community, no different than high-speed internet, available land for growth, utilities, ground transportation, and recreational space. So to provide a funding update, air service is critically important to the local economy by enabling business travel and connectivity, facilitating global market access, boosting tourism, creating jobs directly and indirectly through various sectors, and supporting the relocation of businesses and professionals by providing vital links. Using the numbers based on the 2022 Iowa Airport Economic Impact Study, 2025 commercial air service is estimated to generate nearly $19 million in economic benefit for the Dubuque and Dubuque County. And below you can see how those figures were arisen. EAS has been talked about. So outside of the DOT Small Community Air Service Development Program, there are very few incentives for funding mechanisms available for Dubuque to attract and retain service. One of those, as Jason mentioned, was the EAS program. Little background, that was managed by the US DOT. An EOS program currently subsidizes air carriers to serve approximately 60 communities in Alaska and 115 communities in the lower 48. Requirements for receiving ES funding for communities were set in the Airline Deregulation Act of 1978. The FAA Modernization Reform Act of 2012 provided the wording, in quotes, to remain EAS eligible, communities must have participated in the EAS program at some time between September 30, 2010 and September 30, 2011. Unlike other like-size Iowa communities, Dubuque was not participating in the EAS because air service at the time was self-supporting and did not need to be subsidized. Therefore, Dubuque is currently not eligible for EAS under the current DOT guidelines. And as Jason mentioned earlier, the following on the monitor there, following Iowa commercial airports were participating in that time frame, and that's the amounts they are receiving in calendar, or have received in calendar year 24, reported by the FAA, or DOT, I'm sorry. The objective from the start of any service is to reach a load factor and ticket price that sustains air service long-term without an MRG. The morning departure and evening arrival schedule has been well received by business and leisure travelers. Employments continue to grow and are trending positively, with Dubuque currently averaging 50% load factors. In order to achieve self-sufficiency, Dubuque Air Service consultant Matt Skinner again estimates that Denver Air must attain an average load factor of 80%. To achieve the remaining 30%, an increase of approximately 15 passengers per flight on the current 50-seat aircraft will be necessary. Given Dubuque's historical average of around 100 passengers daily prior to COVID pandemic, this target is attainable. And I can tell you there was 40 passengers that flew out on the flight this morning. But again, that would have to be a running total every day. Following provides a financial account for the DOT small SCASD minimum revenue guarantee to date and estimates expenses for maintaining air service. On the left side is the SCASD funding breakdown, which includes the DOT portion and all the partners. And on the right side is the funding payments, including the month, invoice total, and funding source. Additional funding sources and incentives utilized to date. I'd like to thank the Travel Dubuque Board for contributing $500,000 to support the MRG in August of 25. Chamber, thank you for $50,000 in marketing over 2 years, plus $15,000 in kind. TH, again, thank you for matching the Chamber's 15% in kind. Very recently, a big thanks to Dubuque Initiative for committing up to $200,000 for a $100 airfare rebate program for travelers who purchase round-trip airfare between August 1st and September 30th. So that's active right now. Go out and buy your tickets. Dubuque Airport Commission waived annual rates and charges, or I should say waives, annual rates and charges to Denver Air according to the FAA Air Carrier Incentive Program. Dubuque also provides discounted ground handling, fuel fees, consultant, and marketing costs. The Hilton at Q Casino provides a discounted hotel rate for the Denver Air crew who reside there every night, 3 rooms. Dubuque Racing Association awarded a $100,000 mission grant towards marketing, and they also awarded a 2-year, $40,000 core grant toward the MRG most recently. Denver Air Connection does have 2 incentive programs as well. They've got their Mile High Elite Rewards, so you get 1 point per flight purchase. 6 points earns a one-way ticket on a Denver Air Connection destination. And they also have the Denver Air Connections Corporate Discount Program, which allows businesses and organizations that travel frequently the opportunity to receive a discount on Denver Air. And I believe that concludes my update.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Todd, for providing all that and for being here to answer any questions that we might have. So I'll just say a few things first, and I might have some more to say later. So I want to make something really, really clear for everyone as we're talking about this, because I think it's super easy to think too much internally about this as a city and say and start to point fingers about who's at fault for this internally. And I just want to make something really, really clear about this. The injustice here and the real challenge that we have is that Dubuque falls directly through a crack in federal programming. The EAS program, Todd, can you put that slide back up, please? The EAS one that you had? The EAS program funds other cities' flights that are much more like Dubuque in the rest of the state of Iowa. I want to make it really clear, too, that we have nothing against these great cities in the state of Iowa. These are wonderful places. They're doing great work. It was that other one you just had. Right there.
Sorry.
Right there. There it is. They are cities that are sized somewhat close to us. You can see, I mean, the closest match there is Sioux City, probably to us. But you can see that this program is what keeps air service afloat in these cities. Without EAS, I think these cities would be Dubuque. They would be just like us. Then there's the other federal program that exists for a place like us, and it's the one that we got. It was the Small Community Air Service Development Program. That program was a great program. But the amount of money that you pointed out, Todd, that we were able to receive through that was a total, with our local match, of around $2.1 million. You can see the numbers on this screen right here that show you that the lowest that is being paid in the EAS program is $3.5 million. We fall directly between those two programs, and there's nothing that exists for the city of Dubuque. We discovered this pretty much right away when we lost our flights and started to have these conversations with our members of Congress, with the White House, with the Department of Transportation, with the Federal Aviation Administration, and we've had lots and lots and lots of discussions with these folks. They were helpful in increasing that SCASD grant to be able to get more money, but without that SCASD grant being as large as the numbers you see here on the screen, so at least, somewhere around that $4 million mark, and without us being eligible for EAS, the entire problem is on our backs, essentially. We are on our own trying to figure out at this moment how we can actually fund our own minimum revenue guarantee to be able to fly in the city of Dubuque. I think that is by itself the biggest challenge in this entire equation. I want to also remind people the amount of work that has gone into this for years. I mean, many, many years. I will not forget the call that I received in June of my first year as mayor from American Airlines saying we can no longer serve the Dubuque community, and recognizing all of the work looking backwards that had been done by the Chamber, the Dubuque Area Chamber of Commerce, by the Greater Dubuque Development Corporation, by Travel Dubuque, all the partners, by Todd and the airport, all the partners that have worked on this for years and years and years. It needs to, I want to make it really clear to people that the business community has been incredibly invested in this work and trying very hard to make this something that will be possible in the city of Dubuque. And we're in a really difficult situation right now. We are in a really, really bad spot, and it is not an easy one to get through. We have, the last thing I'll say here, and then I'll open it up to my council colleagues, because I've gotten a lot of emails about, well, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried this? We have tried every single thing that we can think of as a community. And when I say we, I mean that large group of leaders in this community that have gotten together to try to figure this out. I even got a question today, well, could that flight from Waterloo land here on the way to Chicago and pick us up? That would be great too, but that's not the way the EAS program works. We actually couldn't do that because we aren't part of the EAS program, so we can't partner in that way. We've thought about starting our own airline. We've thought about the University of Dubuque having pilots that could feed the airlines that would then be able to give us some sort of a benefit. We have learned each time that that's just simply not how things work. And then there's the joke of if you want to, become a millionaire, then get $1 billion and start an airline and you'll be able to become a millionaire. That's the joke, right? But the point is, that's how hard it is to make air service work. And that's in many ways why we've come up with this as a country, this model that we currently sit with. I don't think that it's helpful for us in any way to sit around and just start pointing fingers about whose fault this is. Because I don't want to just point directly at the airlines. I don't want to just point directly at Congress. I don't want to just point at whatever president is in the White House now or was in the White House 4 years ago or 4 years before that. And we definitely shouldn't be pointing at each other. Because right now, we are the family here in Dubuque trying to figure this out together. And we have to have each other's backs on this one. We got to figure out how to make this go forward. And there are many ways that any sort of group of people, all 100,000 of us in this general area, could figure out how to pay for this. But somebody's got to pay the minimum revenue guarantee going forward till this is a sustainable service when all of those things on that list that Todd pointed out in the next 5 years happen. Field of Dreams, new medical school, just name it, whatever it is. We have to have that air service somehow. So that's the problem that we sit with now. That's the challenge that we're trying to discuss here. And the last thing I'll say, just so everybody is really clear on this and knows it, because I want to say this to you as my council colleagues, the reason that this is on this agenda right now is because this last week was the week that Mike and the team in the finance department started to finally get to the point where they're recognizing what we might have left from carryover from our city budget last year, which is an annual event. We have money left over in the city budget every single year, as many other businesses do. There are carryovers that occur, and recognizing that this is something that could be funded, and that's why this is presented to us in this way, could be funded with some of those carryovers for the rest of the year. There's no other reason other than that. It is because this was the week we figured it out. It would actually be much more ideal if it was a little later in the process, because Mike will have more information and the CFO, Jenny Larson, will have more information about what money we actually have and real numbers to be able to work with, which is why I'm intrigued by Mr. Jones's motion here on the table to be able to have this discussion lengthen a little bit longer. But I just want to make that really, really certain for everyone that the reason that this is on this agenda was my decision because we found this out this week. And I didn't want to sit for 3 more weeks with that information, with that knowledge, and not be sharing that with the community to be able to let everybody know that we have some sort of sense that with the city finances, we could end up paying for some of this if we chose to as a city council. So that's what I'll say for now, and then I'll open it up to any further discussion. Yeah, Ms. Wetham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just want to say that I can appreciate the concerns voiced as it relates to the funding of the minimum revenue guarantee. Each one of us works hard to support our families, pay our bills, and pay our taxes. As your councilwoman, my job is to listen, ask questions, and listen to everyone. Take the knowledge that I have and look out for Dubuque, not just today, but tomorrow and for decades to come. Air service is not just a whim of the moment. Air service is a necessity for our future. In 2022, our family friends from Colorado brought their son to the University of Dubuque and Loras College. They have come to visit us several times in Dubuque and love it. This visit went great at both schools, but in the end, the deal breaker was that we didn't have local air service at the time for him to go home on breaks and at holidays. So he didn't come to school here. Our institutions of higher learning need students and they need faculty. specifically as we are building a medical school. They need air service. Rural America, including Dubuque, is struggling to recruit and retain physicians, specifically specialists. As someone who works in healthcare every day, I will tell you that air service is a game changer in whether a physician will consider Dubuque. As wait times grow for you and your loved ones to access care that you need in rural America, we need more, not fewer, physicians to care for our community. And they need air service. So, do you or someone you love work right now in one of our institutions of higher learning? Do you or someone that you love work in hospitality or tourism? Do you or someone you love potentially need health care in the next 30 years? If you said yes, then service for air service impacts you, even if you never get on a single plane. I cannot tell you how many other students passed on Dubuque because of our previous lack of air service. I can't tell you how many companies didn't come here to plant their roots because of a previous lack of air service when they were doing a national search that included a request for local air service as a criteria from a site locator. I can't tell you how many future expansions we will miss out on if we lose our air service. Last week, I made a number of phone calls to folks in our community regarding their thoughts of air service. Some I hadn't spoken with before regarding air service, and others had advocated to me previously. This included presidents of our institutions of higher learning, major employers, business leaders, and residents. What I heard was a resounding yes when I asked about extending our funding at this time for the minimum revenue guarantee. For many, it was not just yes, it was we must. Know that what has taken us to this point is clear. This is what it looks like when our federal government forgets about rural America. I have personally gone to Washington, D.C. to advocate to each of our representatives to help us get to a level playing field with air service. I will not stop. I will not give up on rural America, and specifically, I will not give up on Dubuque. We deserve air service. Not just for our colleges and universities, not just for our major employers, not just for our tourist industry, not just for our residents. I will keep fighting for all of them and all of you. I believe that often when people stop listening and asking questions and become divisive and negative with rhetoric, it is not just because they have a lack of understanding. They are playing politics. Instead of listening, they are interested in pushing an agenda to divide us as Dubuquers. In this case, regarding a topic for which so many Dubuquers have invested time and treasure and sweat equity and advocacy. For example, the current $100 per ticket rebate is not, I repeat, not funded by the city of Dubuque, which is what those trying to stop our air service are saying. It is funded by Dubuque Initiatives, a nonprofit committed to Dubuque that understands that air service is essential for the success of our community. Playing politics with our air service is not okay. Individuals sharing inaccurate information are not looking out for Dubuque. Not only do they lack a complete understanding of the facts, they haven't been part of the fight to get where we are today. You cannot say the words, "I support my airport," and not support this decision. Anyone saying that is ready to close our airport, pure and simple. As our community is stepping up to do their part to increase ridership now, I am not throwing in the towel. Now is the worst time to pull back the reins. If we lose air service now, it's a done deal, Dubuque. It will not come back. I support this funding. I commit to the continued work, and I'm ready to fight for our air service. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Bethel.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Jones.
I don't think I could possibly top that. And thank you for all of that. Yeah, we're at a turning point. This is a do or die situation right now. The legion of people and the body of work that's taken place to get us where we are today is pretty impressive. And this is a relatively small ask in the bigger picture of things to keep it going. And by the way, don't let my motion in any way suggest that I don't support this. I absolutely do. And I expect that nothing will change my mind in the next weeks until we get to that October 6th meeting. One of the things I've heard recently, just in casual conversation, this wasn't from somebody that was against it or for it, but they're saying, well, don't all these big companies have private jets? Well, sure they do. But they're not for their clients and their consultants and their customers to come and see them. It's incredibly important to those big companies that there be commercial air service available for those essential business partners and business clients to get to their door. It's essential for them to get their sales forces and folks out to other communities to talk to their potential customers. It's absolutely the backbone of commerce for the city. I fear for the future of projects like the University of Dubuque Medical College, like the enormous expansion in activity and infrastructure at Field of Dreams if we don't have commercial air service. Yeah, when we had the Major League Baseball game, we filled the airport with private jets of people coming in. But that wasn't all. There were an awful lot of people that came here for meetings and conversations and things to allow that to happen in the first place. And there are a lot of people that came here that couldn't afford a private jet that wanted to be here for those events. So that's a big deal. We've invested lots of money, our money, federal money, in the airport facility itself. I don't think the general aviation side of it's going away. It's incredibly busy and thriving. And part of the reason it stays that way is the attraction of the commercial air service. I think one of the reasons that the University of Dubuque aviation program is successful is because we've got passenger jets landing and taking off every day. I think that's another draw to want to come and fly at this airport and rub elbows with those crews and learn about those planes. And I think that's also incredibly important. That said, in the communications that we've gotten, Chamber of Commerce represents 5,000 members and subscribers. That's a big number saying you got to do this. Greater Dubuque Development's got 46 board members, 30 up-and-comings in the future leadership team that represent the business world along with the Chamber, and they're telling us we've got to do this. Travel Dubuque's involved in tourism, which was Dubuque's salvation when the lights went out in manufacturing in the 1980s, telling us that we've got to do this. And I would have in front of me printed out, but I don't because they just came in today, letters from the president of the University of Dubuque and a letter from the president of Loras College defining explicitly how critical it is for their futures that we have commercial air service. So it's truly a no-brainer for me. I want to make sure that we totally vet this. This extra couple weeks will give us time to understand the real impact of available dollars. And I don't say that blindly. They're surplus dollars from last year, but they are dollars that would be applied to next year's budget somewhere else if not for this. And I'll be totally transparent about that. But this has been a city council priority. We sat down a year ago, and 2 years ago, and 3 years ago, and 4 years ago, and 5 years ago, and said, air service is essential to this city. I don't think we can just turn our back on that. And I expect that next week we'll say it again. But next week isn't over till it's over. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you all.
Mr. Resnick.
Well, thank you very much. And so as I see it, the issue is that, we need 40 people on the plane every day. That means about 60,000 people do not use the plane every day. So we need to talk about how and why this is important for even if you don't go flying off somewhere for business or pleasure, it's really important for our community to have commercial air service. I'm going to read just a couple more things from Molly Grover from our Chamber of Commerce. Now, again, the Chamber of Commerce represents big businesses, medium-sized businesses, small businesses. They have a huge impact. Members of the Chamber have a huge impact on our daily lives. Okay, very quickly, she says that she would like us to protect one of the most critical pillars of our community's economic future. That's all of us, right? That's one thing she says. And finally, air service is not a luxury, it's a necessity. It connects our residents and businesses to the global marketplace, influences where families choose to live, and determines where companies invest and grow. Air service directly shapes our region's competitiveness, population growth, and quality of life. And that's for everybody in the community. Now, again, the council, everybody here would like to get rid of the minimum revenue guarantee as soon as possible, as soon as we can get those 40 to 50 people every day on that commercial flight. And that's what we're doing. It seems like we're not that far away. How dare we give up when we're 15 people away from our daily average? We need to get to 40 and we're at 25. Was such an important thing for our community. The Dubuque Regional Airport improves the lives of every resident of Dubuque. The challenge is, how do we respond to this community challenge? I do intend to support Mr. Jones's motion tonight and to continue to talk about this at Goals and Priorities. I mean, I get it. I understand. The people who don't use the airport very much these are tough economic times, and it doesn't look like they're going to get great very soon, just from what I read. So I understand why people would question this, but hopefully let's do some deep thinking about our entire community. And I support your motion, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Resnick. Ms. Roussel, I think I saw you next.
Yeah, thank you. And I support my council colleagues in the importance of continuing this conversation, and I'm glad that we'll have a little more time to get the word out to our residents. I had some comments that many have already shared, but from my perspective, I think of this as an investment in transportation infrastructure that helps drive economic activity, that facilitate business growth and tourism. And just like other transportation or other infrastructure benefits, this might not be the specific road that goes past your house or the specific water pipe that's going down your street, but we invest in these kinds of things as a community because it brings benefits to our entire area. And returning our air service to Dubuque, as the mayor pointed out, has been a multi-year process. And I think that having service that comes and goes doesn't provide confidence for those that want to use the service and really undermines its stability. And our Dubuque Air Task Force has worked so diligently to continue to seek every possible avenue for funding and services. It was a huge lift to get air service back to Dubuque. So now is not the time to stop. And if we do, we are cutting short the future possibilities for our economy. So I want to continue to work our plan. I want to continue to have time to have discussions and to help everyone to better understand and communicate all the implications of any changes as we go forward. So people can have that understanding, as Mr. Resnick said, of how does this benefit me? I haven't been on a plane. Why should I want to support this? So I think communication will be key to let everyone know how this is beneficial to our entire community. So I'm glad we're going to have some time to do that, and I'm looking forward to the meeting where we can actually make a decision on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms.
Mayor.
Farber. Yes, if I could just continue on that conversation from Ms. Roussel about the vibrant, connected community that we all appreciate here in Dubuque and what that connection means to us.
And hopefully we can have a discussion about some of the creative marketing that we can do to extend that communication and to extend that message. And I think the soundbite is a vibrant, connected community here in Dubuque for future growth. I wanted to just summarize what Travis Frampton from the University of Dubuque said in his letter to us today, because I think it really is on point. And basically he says, the importance of a connectivity extends beyond the education industry. Dubuque was recently named by the Wall Street Journal as one of the best places to visit in the U.S. Visitors, tourists, trade shows, conventions, and businesses need confidence that Dubuque is accessible. For employers, reliable air service is essential to recruit and retain talent and to connect us with clients, suppliers, and investors across the country. Local industries, from manufacturing to agriculture to healthcare and technology, depend upon strong transportation links to remain competitive in a national and global marketplace. Supporting air service is not a subsidy, it is an investment in the long-term growth and vitality of our region. Denver Air provides us with a path forward. Now is the time to support this initiative and ensure Dubuque remains a vibrant, connected city where rural meets urban, local meets global, and opportunity meets innovation. And I could not have said it better, especially on Dubuque, as it's growing, is on the verge of becoming an innovation hub. And it really needs all the support. And I agree that air service is very similar to a utility. And look forward to our problem solving, our discussions next week, so that we can not only come to a better communication, perhaps, effort in terms of how we market the vibrant, connected community, but I think it's just a vital part of our going forward here and our goal setting next week. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Farber. Mr. Sprague.
Thank you. Actually, I have a question about this. So the minimum, we understand based off the memo, the city manager's memo, as well as the presentation that Todd gave us, we're talking about paying back for so many months and then paying to the end of the year. Based on the current trajectory, how many more months after the end of this calendar year would we be looking for that we might have to continue to pay into this? That's a big question that concerns me. So does anybody have an idea? Are we talking about 6 more months, another 6 months after this month, after the end of this year? Or no idea.
So, I mean, Todd, you can help, but I mean, essentially, you know, as DBQ Air, so this is a really important point. The way that the minimum revenue guarantee is shrunk is not just by load factors of 80%, but by ticket prices as well. So however much people are paying for tickets, if you discount those tickets a whole bunch and you never raise that price, then you're not going to make as much of a revenue to be able to bring that up. So there is sort of a squeezing that occurs over time of the ticket prices coming in line, but still being able to be affordable for everybody to be there, and then people getting on the plane. So that's kind of I don't know, lack of a better term, the game that is played to try to figure out, just how much you can push those prices to be able to get people to where they are still comfortable paying, but then are still getting on that plane, and you're making the revenue while then increasing the load factors and making that minimum revenue guarantee go as close to zero as possible. The numbers that we see on the screen right here are part of this challenge. This EAS issue is that the load factors in the cities, the other cities in Iowa that are like ours, are not reaching those amounts. They never reach those places. I think the closest one that I saw on when looking at the public information was just I think Sioux City was hovering around that 70 to 80% mark, but everybody else was pretty low. So the difference for us though is that we have past history of reaching those load factors on a regular basis. Is that correct, Todd? You're shaking your head yes. You stated that already in your presentation, that we have a past history in Dubuque of reaching that 80% mark and staying there. So we have the capability, based on that past performance, of being able to do that. So the short answer to your question is it's unknown how long we would have to do that. But what I do think, and this I can say confidently, is if we as a city use the funding that we have to be able to fund this through the end of 2025, DBQ Air will continue to work with the business community and anybody else in our community to try to figure out as many creative ways as we can to find that minimum revenue guarantee. You know, there are, I do think it's important to mention that, you know, in other places, in other states, there are a lot of different ways of doing this. You can create a new tax, for example, that is specific to like an entertainment type tax. There's hotel motel tax that could be used to be able to do things like this. We're limited in the state of Iowa by how we can pull those levers. That's one of our challenges. So, you know, we haven't talked much about our state advocacy, but we have worked with our legislators to try and figure out, are there ways we could do something in the state of Iowa that would help us to fund this in Dubuque? And it's a bit of a tough sell because it's our problem. It's not really anybody else's, it's ours. And we will continue to work with our federal legislators to figure out what are the possibilities of creating some sort of creative avenues there and doing something there. But other than that, we need to figure out other things too. So there are a lot of different ways that we could do this, but I would hope that long term, we aren't looking at the city of Dubuque being the only entity that props up a minimum revenue guarantee going forward. I think a better solution is available to us, but we do have to figure out what that is. And we don't have an answer. We as a community, all of us, don't have an answer to that right now.
Well, I guess my whole thoughts on it is we have begged our federally elected officials in DC for help. We haven't gotten very far. And the mayor and the partners, you've been fighting for this for over 3 years. Now there's a rebate from Dubuque initiatives to entice more travel. And I've been hearing from folks that we are just too close to Cedar Rapids, Moline, Madison, and Rockford. And one of the things that I've always, as a city councilman, how to serve my neighbors and everything, I've always looked at is how my vote is going to affect our community in 5, 10, and 15 years from now. And I feel if we vote no on this, we're going to basically be hurting our chances of ever obtaining an airline to ever fly out of our community ever again in the future. I would have I do want to hear more from citizens on this issue. I really do. But I just want to keep in mind, folks, that if we shut down air service, I don't ever expect to have air service ever again out of Dubuque Airport. So I would be more than willing to table this and talk about it again in October 6th. But it is a lot of money. We only have, luckily, this seems to be, we have the funds available now, but we may not next year, so.
Yeah. Ms. Farber, go ahead.
Could we perhaps have a better understanding of the negotiations that go on directly between Dubuque Air and Denver Air to kind of have insight as to how this is determined in terms of continuing, hopefully, this vibrant community service here? Because, I mean, you know, maybe we have a Godfather moment where something can be done in order to improve negotiations or to improve the contract or the deals that we are discussing. I mean, I find us in such a unique role here in Iowa that maybe Denver Air could be, would have an appreciation for that unique role and for the future, knowing all of the elements and all of the projects and all of the development here that is forthcoming. And wouldn't they like to be our partner? And so maybe in the spirit of partnership and attaining the goal of future service, could we not have some kind of unique discussion with them that promotes partnership going forward? And I just throw that back at you.
Sure, yeah. No, great question, and that's been brought up during our Dubuque Air meetings, as a matter of fact. Great minds think alike, apparently. But yeah, no, and just to be fair, obviously they are an airline, they are a business. You know, they have to pay for their fuel, they have to pay for their staff, they have to pay for their insurance, their ground handlers, they're on and on and on, et cetera, et cetera. But no, Matt Skinner, our air service consultant, is actually very close with Denver Air. And I can't say how great a partner that they have been. I've been in the aviation industry for 30 years, and by far, these are one of the best partners that we've seen to date. They do whatever we ask, they do whatever they can to help us out. But yeah, no, to answer your question, yes, we can go back and have a little more conversation with them. But my understanding right now, essentially the minimum revenue guarantee agreement that we have in place is to basically break even for them. So But yes, we'd be happy to go back and have some more conversation and bring back some results.
And this is not there's not legal requirements about the development of this cost that the expenses that they're looking to cover is between the two organizations, right?
Yes, yeah, there's no, you mean like a guidance, like a federal guidance or
Correct.
something like that?
There's no FAA rule
No,
or no business development rule that
No.
exists just for the airlines?
Yep, it's the agreement between the airline and the, the partner, whoever that may be, if it's the airport, Dubuque Air, a municipality, et cetera. But I can say that Matt Skinner does review each invoice that we receive, line item by line item, and he approves it before we bring it forth to Dubuque Air. So, we've got it, pretty well nailed down. But again, I'll follow up with our consultant and bring back some more information.
And just one more point of context.
course.
As you know, I'm on the University of Dubuque's board. I've been on there for several decades, and of course, I've seen the growth of the aviation department. Is there an opportunity maybe where the partnership with the University of Dubuque Aviation has a relationship with Denver Air too, in terms of part of this discussion and the negotiation?
Sure.
I'm just throwing that out generally
No,
speaking.
yeah, a conduit program like we've
Yeah.
experienced in the past with other carriers,
Correct.
and yeah, absolutely. And we've already talked about that. They'd like to invite some of our students that come start out as cargo pilots, because those cargo
Right.
pilots then move into the regionals, and then they move on from there.
Right,
So
but maybe that could be better formalized,
Yep.
and you get, President
get a
Trump,
little-
he wrote a great.
little benefit of that.
Yeah, right, so I'm just kind of
Of
supporting.
feeding
him.
some students, right?
Correct, yeah, meetings of
Love
the
it.
line, so, okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Council.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Very briefly, I just wanted to say that, we have gotten help from our federal partners. I know we've expressed frustration at this table, but they've expressed frustration too. They know what we're doing, Senator Grassley, Senator Ernst, Representative Hinson, and I think they have tried many things to help us. And I appreciate their efforts. And they're very frustrated with the way things are right now, as far as we're in the gap the mayor talked about. We did get that SCASD grant with their help, and they would like to help us in any way. We just have to make it possible. And also, it comes down to, and I think Senator Grassley's office said, when it comes right down to it, it's in your hands, as the mayor said. It's in Dubuque's hands. So again, I hope that we can find a way to come together as a community so we can eventually get rid of this minimum revenue grant. But I think many people have tried, and I appreciate the work that they have been able to do to help us. And I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Resnick. Yeah, please, Mr. Jones, and then we'll wrap things up here.
Do a couple quick points here.
Yep.
Katie mentioned that she's traveled to DC, and I want to make sure that the people know that all 7 of us and staff have made the trip multiple times. We've had their staff here to talk about things annually, and I expect that we'll continue to do that. Minimum revenue guarantee is just that. If we can get the enplanements up, we can zero that out. We don't have to pay money to have them come and fly here if we can make it self-sustaining. So people can vote on this by putting their butts in seats and making that airline profitable. And lastly, I just want to say how impressed I am with Denver Air as a partner. Their leadership pointed out to us in the early conversations that they're an airline run by pilots, not accountants. And they structure their operations that way, which I think gives them more of a safety-first attitude than a finance-driven corporation perhaps would. And lastly, I'll point out again, full-size candy bars.
All right, this has been a really good discussion, and Todd, I appreciate you being here to be able to share some of this. I'm sure that the public has more questions, and I'm glad that it sounds like we're in agreement that keeping this conversation going is the point here. But it also sounds like there is some pretty strong agreement around the table that it's really important that we make sure that this moves forward. I want to just close the conversation by reiterating something that was just said. If you're thinking about how you can help this personally, the number one way you can do so is to fly from our Dubuque Regional Airport. That is the number one thing that every single person in this community can do. Even if you don't fly yourself, have a friend come visit. Bring somebody here. And I'm not saying this in a joking way. It really is important that we demonstrate together that this is something that we need and something that we want, and we are going to use it. So going forward, by making sure that you are flying from Dubuque whenever you possibly can, I think is the number one way to help. And I also just want to say that there's been some talk about Denver Air Connection in this situation. Of the other airlines we've talked to and all the other things that have been presented as possible avenues, this really is one of the best case scenarios that we could probably ask for in the situation that we're in. And by that I mean we have an airline that has been willing to work with us through multiple challenges. They have gone to bat for us in Chicago with the O'Hare staff to try and move this forward and not have to park on the tarmac anymore, but to be able to have a gate, those types of things. They've done that. They've worked with us through these various challenges. They've said over and over, we want to stay in Dubuque. We really want Dubuque to work. And I think that Denver Air Connection is a good airline that provides us with a lot of options from Dubuque right now. I mean, it really is. You can drop in Chicago and go to 3 different major airlines. That's a big deal. So keep thinking about that and moving this forward. We will continue this discussion as long as this motion passes here over the next couple of weeks. We have goal setting next week, and then we have the next meeting on October 6th. So I look forward to being able to continue this discussion with everybody outside of this room from in the days forward and also back in this room when that time comes. All right, so to be clear again, the motion on the table is to receive and file, have the discussion we just had, and then continue this discussion on October 6th and defer this final decision to that date. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones. Aye. Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber. Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
That motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 3 is award of public improvement construction contract for Rustic Point Park Development Project.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
Move to receive and file the documents and adopt the resolution.
Second by Wethel.
Motion by Jones, second by Wethel. Mike, please.
Thank you. Interim Parks and Recreation Director Steve Faisal is recommending City Council adopt a resolution to approve the Rustic Point Park Development Project and award the public improvement construction contract for the project in the amount of $212,130.10 to Eastern Iowa Excavating and Concrete. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Discussion. Not seeing or hearing any. All right, motion here is to receive and file, adopt that resolution. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprank.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Action item number 4 is update of the Sustainable Dubuque Community Grant Program.
Mr. Mayor,
So,
I move to receive and file and approve.
Second.
got a motion by Roussel, second by, let's go with Resnick. Mike, please.
Director of Sustainability Gina Bell is recommending City Council approval of changes to the guidelines and application process for Sustainable Dubuque Community Grant Program to comply with Iowa State Law, House File 856, Chapter 19, passed in May of 2025, effective immediately. A red line version is attached for your review. The Resilient Community Advisory Commission received a red line copy of proposed updates and reviewed and voted at the September meeting to forward this to the City Council for approval. The city's legal department has reviewed the changes and approved them. The recommended changes would go into effect for the next round due in March 2026. Staff will continue to support any application questions and provide technical assistance to applicants requesting assistance. I concur with the recommendation and respectfully request Mayor and City Council approval.
Thank you, Mike. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Roussel.
I'll just state that I appreciated the red line version that was attached. It helped me to see exactly what was changed. I think the changes made sense, and I support the new version.
Ms. Wethel.
Thank you, Ms. Bell, for staying this late to guide us through this change. And thank you for the work you do. The work you do does not change. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, quickly, it says that one of the red lines is that they need to be within the confines of the city of Dubuque. We use only city of Dubuque funds for awarding this, to award, right? So only citizens, only Dubuque citizens pay into this award. Is that correct? Or, all right, so it would make sense that the people who receive this award should be within Dubuque city limits. That's not always how it's been, right? It's been an area award, but now it's more specific to the Dubuque city limits, specifically because it's funded by Dubuque citizens. I know eventually I keep asking questions.
Good evening, Gina Bell, Director of Sustainability. So the guidelines have always stated that it's within the city limits. And we have made, as long as the project served the majority of Dubuque residents, we've usually let it go through. There has been some projects that have come to you all in the past that you sent back. And so we really are focused on projects that have an address within the city of Dubuque and are serving Dubuque residents. Very
specifically.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Gina, thank you very much for joining us and being able to answer those questions. All right, motion here is to receive and file and approve. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel. Sprague.
Motion passes 7-0.
Next are council member reports.
All right. Already had a long night, so we can report quickly. Yeah, Mr. Resnick.
I will report quickly, and this is related to an earlier topic. I went to a pancake breakfast at the airport a little bit ago. There were 800 people who came in and enjoyed the camaraderie of air service support, and the Junior Air Patrol was there. They had lots of interesting new medevac vehicles, from medium-sized to very small, two-passenger airplanes that, of course, I would never want to go into unless there was an emergency. But they're pretty gutsy to be flying up in there in these 1962 Piper little planes. But it's a very enthusiastic and growing community of supporters. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, Ms. Farber.
I want to give Adrian a shout out for the September 10th city picnic for boards and commissions. And it was a beautiful evening and a great reception, and everybody was very appreciative. And we all were there to help you celebrate. The next day, I did help commemorate the memory of 9/11. And I did actually visit 2 fire stations, and I was one of the New Yorkers there on 9/11. And so for me, it's very important every 9/11 to participate in a remembrance. And I have my Twin Towers pin that I wear proudly that day as well. And I want to give a shout out to all the fire stations for everything they do as our first responders, and for their open arms to the community that day to show and tell what they do for the city, and also to share in the memories. And then, of course, we did the Community Foundation Data Walk, as Ms. Wethel had mentioned. And then I had the pleasure of being at the Millwork and the Farmers Market both last week, and again, vibrant response, and a lot of people in the community attended. So just a shout out to those folks who actually put those events on for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sprague.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Since our last meeting, of course, I was involved in the Dragon Boat races, which is a lot of fun, actually. So I recommend if citizens want to get involved next year, get involved with that. Also, Holy Ghost had a lovely benefit, the church festival. And then I know a number of us attended the Boards and Commissions picnic, so thank you, Adrian, and your staff for putting all that together. And then also we had this weekend of, I always actively involved in things. Just people always say, how do you do it? I don't sleep, so that's fine. But the labor harvest, I enjoy giving that food giveaway. And then, of course, the wonderful there was Oktoberfest, which was a fundraiser. I missed you doing your thing, Mayor, but I did make it there for the Wiener Dog races, which are really more fun than watching you dance around in Lederhosen. So, and then also Steeple Square had a nice little event going on Sunday, which was just really nice and welcoming for the citizens, and appreciate their organization for putting that together. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Russell?
Thank you. I attended a mission team meeting at my church, and we know that many people in our community struggle with food insecurity. So we will be having a free food distribution on the morning of Saturday, September 27th at 17th and Main. So if you are in need of food, know someone who is, please send them our way. Over the weekend, I attended a pilgrimage of trees on the beautiful campus of the Sisters of St. Francis. I was really impressed by our recent visit to the Precision Policing Center. They are really doing great work there. I attended a Dubuque Trees Forever board meeting. We have two plantings, or several plantings planned this fall to help out with Branching Out Dubuque program. And on Sunday, I attended a show at the Grand, and it was so much fun. And it was especially fun because Amy Gilligan from the TH was one of the audience participation roles. And if you missed that, it was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Russell. Mr. Jones?
Quiet couple of weeks here since we last met. Wednesday, September 3rd, we had Dubuque Metropolitan Area Solid Waste meeting. We also had the City Assessors Conference Committee, and retained our city assessor, or reappointed him, which is a good move because he's been great. Thursday, October 4th, I was at the grand opening of St. Mark's Early Childhood. What a spectacular facility they've got. It's in the old Econo Foods complex with ARC, and they're looking at partnerships with the neighbors in the future. We also did our professional staff evaluations that night, and pretty pleased with the way they came out, and pretty pleased with the way our staff has operated. Saturday the 6th, Key City Creative Center did a couple of dedications along with their annual meeting. Margaret Muir sculpture is along the 18th Street side of the building, and as you drive by there, slow down and take a look at it. It's pretty spectacular. And they did what I think may be the one and only dedication of the green alley behind their building. So there aren't a whole lot of alley dedications that have gone on. Monday the 8th, I was at a ribbon cutting grand opening for Ascent Medical. It stands for Allergy, Sinus, something, and ENT. Very interesting young fellow who's captain in the military, an MD, and ear, nose, and throat specialist. They do some, sounds like some pioneering work with skin cancers of the face and some treatments that aren't available elsewhere. But neat little business happening there. Spectacular boards and commissions picnic. I showed Kevin Fernstall the picture of one of the centerpieces, and he just hung his head. No, he said, wow, that was pretty neat. The data walk was enlightening on September 10th at the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque. September 11th is a hard day for me, coming from the fire service, but I did enjoy the open houses at fire headquarters. Of course, the place is a shambles because the HVAC's all torn out, ceiling tiles all down, and furniture's all piled up on the back of the apparatus floor. So I walked in and saw Chief Amy and said, well, I just love what you've done with the place. I also went out to Station 6, where I haven't been since we did some modifications. If you recall, the stairs to get from the downstairs to the upstairs were starting to fall apart and fall down. So we added a stair tower external to the building, which gave them back some space that was on the apparatus floor. That little building's really become quite nice. I only got to work there one shift in 31 years at the fire department, and I kind of enjoyed it that day. We also had our Dubuque Metropolitan Area Transportation Study Committee that Thursday the 11th. Friday the 12th, I attended the Women in Law Enforcement Barbecue down at the Law Center. That was just cool. And probably the party of the year was sponsored by 365 Inc. It was across the river in a new facility called Colby's, but it's kind of a neat place, and everybody I knew my whole life was there. It was an awesome event. So congratulations to 365 on their celebration and their milestone that they just hit.
Thanks, Mr. Jones.
Other than that,
yeah. All right. The only other things I'll add aside from those things, I do want to point out the fire station tour. I really appreciated that. I was able to visit Station 2 and then got invited to forcible entry training later that afternoon out at the training center. So I was also invited to try the forcible entry training and declined. But I really did appreciate that invitation. So it was really interesting to see that and see the apparatus they used to do that. I did get to speak to a group of high school seniors at the Dubuque Area Youth Leadership Council. And that was at Loras College, and it was seniors from Hempstead Senior, Wahlert, Western Dubuque. Really impressive kids to be able to ask some really good questions. I mean, the hands were just shooting up to ask questions of me and the other panelists that were there. It was an enjoyable time, so I appreciated that opportunity, that invitation. And then I'm really enjoying the memes of pictures of me from Oktoberfest, and I hope they just keep coming. I've been referred to as the Monopoly guy because I'm always dressed up in the top hat and the mayor's sash. So the sash is what gives me the memes from Mayor Quimby from The Simpsons, which is really fun to see. So keep them coming. Whoever's got them, I really love them. It was great to see those. So Oktoberfest is another great celebration. All right, we have a closed session. Take a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Jones.
I move that the City Council go into closed session in accordance with Chapter 21.5 of the Code of Iowa to discuss pending litigation and potential purchase or sale of real estate.
Got a motion by Jones, second by Roussel. For the record, the attorney the City Council will consult with on the issues to be discussed in closed session is City Attorney Colonel Brumwell. Adrian, would you call the roll, please?
Jones.
Aye.
Kavanaugh.
Aye.
Resnick.
Aye.
Farber.
Aye.
Roussel.
Aye.
Wethel.
Aye.
Sprang.
Aye.
7-0. We are in closed session.